Hello. Welcome. Hello, welcome. It is Sunday. Hopefully you can see and hear me okay, because I do different streams. I have to mess with the volume, and I'm probably either far too loud or far too quiet. I don't know. I can't watch my own stream. Let me just double check everything looks okay. Yes, we've got that there, and that's... Yes, everything looks fine. Hello, welcome to Warhammer Sunday. Yes, Chris, it's a different title sequence because I'm not doing the Xeon stuff. So it's animated. Not a single static image this time. It's animated. Yes. Anyway, welcome. It's Warhammer Sunday. It's that time of week when I sit down and crack on with my Warhammer goodness and let you join me for 3 hours. It's more just a chance for you guys to hang out and chat and have a good time while I just happen to do try and do some Warhammer goodness. If you're not familiar with the show, I was working on my Warhammer Principality of Xeon themed army for quite a while, but that's on the back burner for the moment because right now I'm catching up with Warhammer Conquest. If you're not familiar with that, it's a part work where you build up an Imperial and a Death Guard army. Thanks to George, one of my very, very kind patrons, who's also one of your mods in chat. He is helping me collect the Warhammer Conquest part work, and what I'm doing is I'm working my way through all the models, building them all up on this show so that by the end of issue 80, which might be in the next few months, hopefully I'll have received it, and so don't know when we'll finish building it. I'll have everything built up, and then what I can start doing is filming actual painting. I've abandoned the previous plan to paint what the magazine says. That's all gone to pot now. That's all gone out the window. We'll paint everything properly. So in the coming months we'll finish and we'll get everything built up, and then we'll crack on with the painting and do proper painting videos. But welcome. As always, it's typical one of my live streams. If you're watching this, you can see there is a chat there. That's not the actual live chat. Well, it is live chat. It's just not the chat that you can join in. If you want to become one of the cool kids and join in the live chat, you're more than welcome to. I do recommend it because this show is more just about you guys hanging out in chat. I'm just going to be sitting here working and waffling about biscuits or something for 3 hours. So I'm just something you have on in the background. It's more about having fun in the live chat. So do come and join the live chat. If you're watching it on YouTube, obviously you should see the live chat already. If you're on a mobile device, it might be down underneath the video. So just scroll down a bit. If you're watching this somewhere else, embedded in Facebook or Patreon or Twitter or LO or somewhere else, then what you need to do is hit the little YouTube icon that's down here in the bottom right hand corner somewhere. That will transport you insta-magically to the YouTube page where you can join in the live chat. So do come and join in. There's lots of cool people in there. It's more about you guys having fun in the chat for 3 hours than anything I'm actually doing on screen, which is good because I often get very little done. As always, if you want to get my attention, do put your comment in big fat capital letters. I've got the chat here in front of me on the iPads. Guthorm is, of course, keeping an eye on the chat for me, as always. But yeah, do put your comment in big fat capital letters so I have a chance to see it. You can, of course, if you want to, do a super chat, which is the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. That puts your comment in a coloured box and animation comes up here and it makes a noise, and then I have no way to miss your comment because I'll know you've done something. Also, the super chats are a great way to support me in this channel because I depend on you and my patrons and everybody else for support. That money helps support this channel, so you are gratefully welcomed to do super chats if you want to support this channel. Don't forget, of course, as always, you can send me an email if you want. My email address is always here on the screen. However, I probably won't be able to pick that up during the show. I'll get it. I'll have a look at it, but don't expect me to absolutely guaranteed read it out or anything on the show. If you're not able to do that any other way, then do your email, but it's not guaranteed I'll be able to read it out. As always, we've still got the stream boss battle going on up here. You can see George Gabriel. George, my lovely friend George, is our current stream boss. He has 97,000 health. Starts off with 100,000. If you're not familiar with stream boss battle, it's basically a way for you guys to build up a big fat pot of community money amongst yourselves, and one of you lucky community peoples will win all that money. When George became stream boss, he won 480 quid to spend at Games Workshop or Forge World. So you can win a fair decent bit to spend. What you basically do is, if you want to help become the stream boss and win that money, you need to get George off the throne. He's got 97,000 health. You need to put tips through the tip jar, and the address is here. It's streamlabs.com/model making guru. Every time you put a tip through, it takes some of George's health off, and this bar goes gradually black. Not much off there at the minute. Takes a little bit of his health off. The more you put through as a tip, the more of his health comes off, of course. It'll also pop up here, say that you've done a thing. But the more you put through, the more of a tip goes in, the more of his health comes off. If you get him to 0, you win all the money that's in that pot of tips. That tip pot pot just sits there. I don't get that money. It just sits there and accumulates. And eventually one of you will get into zero and will win that money. The trick is to put in as little money as possible, but get as much out. So don't just put like 400 quid in, because you'll just be buying your own stuff in that case. And if you win and you become stream boss, you become the stream boss, and I tell you how much is in the pot, and you get to spend that at Games Workshop or Forge World, which generally involves no shipping, because I can deliver it from your country to your country, and you get lots to spend. So get doing your tips into the tip jar. It will take a while, because it usually goes quite slow till the very end. So it will take a while, but as George says, he will not be dethroned. Now that's fighting talk, that is. So yeah, get putting your tips in. Like I said, I don't make anything off that. I don't get any of that money. That money just goes to you guys. It's your way to build up a pot. It's a community pot. Right, I need to clear my throat. 1 second. See, that's not bad now. I've got through all the preamble in only 7 minutes. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. As always, very, very quickly, I forgot this bit, so I've just destroyed my own comment. Don't forget, of course, this show is supported by 3 lots of people. First of all, my patrons, my lovely, lovely patrons who do support me financially each month. They give up their hard-earned cash to keep this channel going, and I can't thank them enough. Thank you so much to all my patrons. They pay my income. This is what I do for a job. They pay my wages, basically. They allow me to pay my bills and buy food and not starve to death, in a council estate flat with rats and vermin. So thank you massively to all my patrons. You can, of course, become a patron if you want to directly support me. It's patreon.com/modelmakingguru. You're more than welcome to go and check it out. But there are other ways to support me, and I'll go through that in a minute. Of course, I am also sponsored directly by emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop. There's the button for all your model making needs. Link is in the chat. For all your traditional model making needs, lots of savings to be had. Go and check them out. Link in the description below as well. And of course, I am supported by Goblin Gaming, your one-stop stop for all your tabletop gaming needs. Everything from Dungeons & Dragons, Games Workshop, Malifaux, Conflict 47, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, from card games to tabletop trading games to actual physical miniature games. Loads of stuff. 20% off Games Workshop, Malifaux and Conflict 47. So if you want to save massively, you're in the EU or the UK, go to that link I've just put in the chat. It's also in my description below. Use the link that's in the chat or the video description, because that link is my affiliate link and it tells them I've sent you. And every time you place an order, it doesn't cost you anything, but I make a little bit of commission. So if you do need to buy some tabletop stuff, go to Goblin, get it from there. I'll make a little bit of income on that. And of course, there is my Amazon store. Again, there is a link in the description below the video. Go and check that out. That also helps this channel. And last of all, don't forget, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Make sure to click all on the notification bell. That also helps me out massively, and that costs you nothing. Right, let's have a quick look at the chat. We have... I don't know who was first in, because I didn't have the chat up, but the first comment I've got is from Chris at Gross Models, one of your lovely mods. Chris, Dad... obviously his dad is Mike Mounted. David Butch, that model is in, and George is in as well, I've spotted. Those are your moderators there in chat. They are lovely, lovely. They're lovely, lovely, lovely fellas. They're really, really lovely little men. They are awesome people. They'll look after you. They'll keep you safe. But if you cross them, they will just torture you and burn you alive, and then bury you alive while you're still burning alive. And then they'll also fill that hole they bury you in acid and piranha fish, and they'll have endless really bad panpipe music playing through the soil as well. So they're going to really mess you up if you cross them. So don't cross them. I got carried away with that, but they'll look after you. We have Mordraka is in. Welcome, Mordraka. Nim is in, of course. Welcome, Nim. How long do you think it'll take before we see blood? You may see no blood today, or you may not. I stabbed myself the other day off camera. I got a stabity, but I stabbited myself on the model. I was putting the finishing touches on the Plague Burst Death Crawler thing, and I stabbed myself on the little spikes, and it made blood and everything. So I can stab myself with the model I'm making. It's not just a knife. We have David Sanderson. Afternoon all, my head's fuzzy from glue fumes, literally making my way through all my backlog of Conquest stuff so far over 3 days. Yes, that's what I'm doing. It's going to take me months. Go gently with Dad as well. Dad's been very poorly sick the last few days, so I'm really, really happy that Dad's been able to join us. I'll understand if you can't make it for the whole show, Dad, but welcome, welcome. Dad's been poorly sick, so please give Dad all your sympathies and all your fluffy moments in chat. Be nice to him. Pascal, of course, is in. I don't know if Pascal was first, because my chat doesn't go that far back, but Pascal is always first. Let's have a look. We have David Butch, that model, of course, who also says, stay away from Dad. He has the Black Death and should have been picked up on Bob's cart last night, with the bell ringing, bring out your dad. And then Dave also says that Dad is Grandfather Nurgle. Let's have a look. Mordraka says, here's a quickie question. How do you defrost a wet pallet? Take it out the freezer. You'd leave it out. Leave it out on something metal so the metal can draw the cold out. Or just put it next to something warm. Put it under your radiator or your heater. It doesn't really matter. If it has got really sodden and horrible, you can just throw it away and refresh your sponge. And if it's a pre-made one, yeah, you need to defrost it and squeeze out the sponge. If it's one you've made yourself out of tissue, just throw all that out. Melt it in something hot. Pour some boiling water in it. If it's one you made yourself, pour a little bit of boiling water in it. Tip the water away. Throw the tissue and stuff away, and just redo it. I guess your wet pallet's been outside in the shed or something where it's really cold. Oh, hello. We have a thing. We have, of course, Skullfish, who's done a super chat and says, of course, the ultimate Skullfish comment, Soup Cat. You can see it there. It's the green thing on screen. That's what happens. I get a little coloured box. So Skullfish, I've got to say it, Skullfish. I don't have a button. I have to do it manually. Oh, thank you very much, Skullfish. I really appreciate that. That's lovely. That'll go into my food supplies funds. I can buy food now. Whee! Thank you very much, Skullfish. That's what happens when you do Super Chat. So I have no way to miss Super Chat comments. Where was it up to? We have... David Sanderson says, put the wet pallet on the... I'll start that again. Butcher That Model says, stick it on top of a radiator, the frozen wet pallet. And David Sanderson says, providing the radiator is on, of course. Let's have a look. We have Eric Graham is in. Hello. Welcome, Eric. Eric Graham says, I think somebody should get Fox that Titanic model he was oohing over last night in the boom hut. It'd be fun to watch him squirm. I've got to be honest, I wasn't oohing over it. I posted it because it's from It's E-Models and I post their stuff in there anyway. I posted it because it's an awesome model, but I have no interest in boats. I really don't care about boats. No interest whatsoever. So if someone was to send me that big new trumpeter Titanic, I'd just send it back because I have no interest in building that. I wasn't oohing over it. I will be enthusiastic when I'm promoting, but yes, there may be things in the works for that. So don't. Yes, that's the new trumpeter 1/200 scale Titanic that's like 35 feet long. If you watch Ted do his E-Models build video for the trumpeter U-boat, the 1/48 scale U-boat that was 100 feet long, it's that same company, so it's the same kind of thing. Tons of photo etch. So it's not my wheelhouse, if you pardon the pun. I don't do boats, but it looks like it'll be a beautiful build. We have another thing. Thank you very much, Chris. Chris at Gross Models, super chatted £2. Let's just see if we've said anything. He says no. Oh, he's done a little. He's done a little animated little thing. I don't know if you can see it there. Little animated chibi. I can't remember what it's called now, but thank you very much, Chris. And there was another thing. Let me see what the other thing was. The other thing was something went ping, but I didn't see what that was. I apologise. Something went ping, but I don't know what it was. But thank you very much, Chris. That's really appreciated. Yes, I wouldn't build that. I'd just send it back. But there may be plans in the works for other things. We have a Candygram for Mongo is in. I'm pretty sure very, very few people will have the room for that enormous Titanic model. I certainly wouldn't. We have Skullfish, of course. Skullfish is in. I don't have a button. Chris says he pressed the button for me, but of course you guys can't hear it. Nim is making scrambled eggs. Oh, give me an enormous bowl of that, please. Spice them with salt, pepper, chili powder, and garlic powder. I need all of those in my face. People looking at alcohol. Dad tells me to go for big wheeze before the show starts, and I didn't. I went before we went on live. People are sending me a text. What was that? I've been sent a text. 2 times thumbs up gone on for you. Says Colin. That's Colin at Festa67. Thank you very much. That's very awesome. He also says he was doing his stream, and I know Colin was doing his stream. He started doing a little stream before this one, 12 p.m. on Saturdays, sort of 12 lunchtime on Saturdays. But he was missing some of the chat comments, so I sent him a text saying, "Are you on Top Chat or Live Chat?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was on Top Chat." Oh. It's the thing. If you are doing a live stream and you're reading the chat like I am, make sure you're on live chat, not top chat. Handy hint to anybody doing a live stream. I forget all the time. You miss half the comments. I don't know the point. I don't know why it doesn't just show you the chat and not give you option of. It defaults to showing you half the chat. It's like, what? Just show me the chat. YouTube, stop being tubes and show me the chat. Honestly. But thank you for that, Colin. Where are we? There we have Ray Aquilina is in. Welcome, Ray. Ray from Malta. Welcome. Miha Schmagel. Oh, it's just Django. Won't be talking much since I had to change my name for school stuff. Okay, well, Miha, thank you very much. I probably completely butchered that name, so I'll just call you Django. Not just Django, because we know it's not just Django, isn't the actual name, because it's just Django, not just Django. But you have to put just, so people know it's just Django. But why did you have to change it? Why do you have to change your name for school stuff? Does it matter? It's weird. Does school use... I'm not even going to ask. Weird. Anyway, can't they just use just Django? Even though it's not just Django, it's Django, but, it's just Django. Let's have a look. Also says Django, belly lasagna bench, Gundam marker painting the HG Quanti. That's another thing I can't pronounce. Moving on. Ildi says, there is a blackbird looking at me, tapping the window with his beak and hitting the window with his wings. He wants my soul. No, he just wants your mealworms or any bird food you happen to have. That's cool. I like blackbirds. He's trying to get in. Let's have a look. More Draco. So we've obviously started doing bench and belly. I didn't see... Oh, yes, Dad did ask, what's on your bench and what's in your belly? Photos can be put up in the boom hut. Yes, what's on your bench? What are you working on right now? And what's in your belly? What have you having or what have you had for your dinner? I'm assuming somebody set up a thread in the Model Makers boom hut, which I will put a link in the chat if you're not familiar with the Model Makers boom hut. Go and join that group if you're not in it already. I assume somebody set up a thread, so treat that thread as the official Warhammer Sundays bench and belly. But you can put anything else in there. If you're talking in chat and you want to show a picture of something, you can't put a picture in chat, so put the picture in there. Illuminator Arts and Crafts is in. How are you all doing? Welcome, Illuminator. I'm fine, thank you. Eric Graham says, belly empty, workbench taking down the Christmas tree. It's that time of year. We have Team Inept. Paul is in, another one of your mods. Paul from Glue to the Sprue, Team Inept. For maximum awful levels of panpipe music, going back to me saying how the mods would dismember you if you cross them, we'll get Fox to compose it. Yeah, I can do maximum cheese. Athol McNichol is in. Welcome, Athol. He's just back from Sunday shopping. Candygram says, belly, T, bench, 172nd Spad 13, a test kit for using my new Iwata Neo recommended by Model Making Guru, and Dad purchased on Fox's US Amazon site, thank you very much, which is working wonderfully. Yes, I do have a US and a UK Amazon store. In the link, there's text in the description below, links down there. Use them, it really helps me out. If there's something that you want that's not on there, give me a shout. I can add it to the store within seconds. Nim says, belly scrambled eggs. We would have guessed that one, you've just made them. And Master Grade Sandrock on the bench before playing Dungeons and Dragons. Andy McLeish is in. Welcome, Andy. He says, incoming nonsense supreme. Yes, welcome, Andy. Not been in for a while. You did send me some questions to ask on the thing, but I've not done sticker giveaways for a while. I'm not doing any for a while, so but thank you. I'll keep them to one side. That's kind of fallen by the wayside at the moment. Chat has jumped. Let's have a look. Oh well. I may miss some of that chat then. Model Maker Dave's Workshop says, hello Fox, hello everyone, welcome, welcome. Warhammer Up the Titanic, says Paul, yes. Collins in, Festa 67 Workshop, another one of your mods, lovely, lovely fella, but he will break you in half if you cross him. Mo, my housemates decided to move my wet pallet from the fridge to the freezer over the weekend, says Mordraka. Yeah, if it's one you've made yourself, just get some boiling water, throw it all away and start from scratch. Also, you may want to, just completely... murderize your housemates. Not literally YouTube before you kill the stream. Joke. Think of some revenge that will suitably annoy your housemates. Do they have food? Put lots of chili in it. David Sanderson asks, does the Titanic come with the obligatory iceberg? Hey, you might have to make your own. Quickly whiz through these. Need to get on. Wayne Haywood says, belly, pate crisps and leftover Christmas cakes. Bench, further painting the Strontium dog minis. Cool. Athol says, Spanish tortillas and Mexican beans for dinner. Cool, but what's on your bench? You missed that bit out. What's on your bench, buddy? LD says, my stream is full of leeches. Don't walk in it barefoot. Okay. Good to know. Random, but good to know. Andy McLeish says, says he's working on Orc Mech Gubbins. Django says, Fox completely butchered my name. And I had to change the name since the professors won't know who's messaged them if I use just Django. I'm assuming that's Polish, perhaps, or similar. It's a Slavic style. There's the thing on the S and the ch, mate. Can I call you Smeagol? That'll do, because it's the nearest I can get pronunciation-wise. Where are we? What are we doing tonight? Says Illuminate Arts and Crafts. We will come to that in a moment. Festa says, fuck Endos. That's it now. We can finish the stream. Thy Creator says, Belly, sushi. There you go. Thy Creator wins. Because he's got sushi. Bench, homework, boo, and fails because he's got homework. ATTG is in, afternoon all. Welcome. Dave says, Belly, spicy Italian Subway, Bench is 80 chain rasps to blooming paint. Oh, yes. Earl D is working on tomorrow's prep for work and has a mushroom and onion omelette belly, so it's food and food. Earl D is a chef. Chris asks if I can add some mankinis to my Amazon store. I may be placing an order for a friend. Send me a link. I'll add anything to the store. There is an other section. I'll add anything to the store. That's the thing. If you're ordering if you're ordering stuff on Amazon, it's nothing to do with model making. If you're in the UK or the EU, I can add anything to my store. So just let me know. I'll add it if you want to. Paul says tonight's belly will be leftover chili most likely, and Bench is now some Sigmar Mournfangs because the sprues are right there. Colin will feed you to his eels. Yeah, that's it. Jellied eels. Yeah. ATTG says, Belly sweet and sour chicken with obligatory rice. Bench 3 Deathwatch kill teams I need to get painted. Looks Romania to the glance, says Team Inept about Django's name. Which, of course, by next week I will have forgotten it's Django. So you'll have to remind me every week, Django, because I will forget. Nim says, I'm hyper just did my latest ball jointed doll in a week earlier. Now I need to design, pattern and sew some tiny clothing. I could send more to Fox. No, please don't send more to Fox. David Sanders working on the bench has scenery from Conquest, Belly's Maynard's Wine Gums picture on the boom hut. Yes. And Illuminator Arts and Crafts is playing Ace Combat 7 while waiting for the photo etch parts for his 177 Blackbird. Cool. Right. Anyway, we're up to date with the chat. What I'm doing today is I'm not looking forward to this one, but I've got to make the thermic plasma regulators that are supposed to look like that. And I thought I've only got one to do, and then I realised there's 2 of them. So, yeah. Do let me know, how is the sound? Am I too loud or too quiet? Is everything okay? Jolly good. Let me know. I've got an enormous cup of tea, which I need a swig of. Let's get on with the show. Right. Yes. Got to make some thermic plasma regulators. Oh, I just went to get the extra... Oh, Dad's put a little thing through. It's not come through for you guys yet. Hang on. 3, 2, 1. There. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's not. Oh, Dad's put a super chat through. It says Fudge Fund. There you go. It's because I see it before you do. Thank you very much, Dad. That's lovely. Thank you. That will be indeed some sort of Fudge Fund. I've got a really sniffly nose today. I just went to mop up the excess tea because I've got the big fluffy moustache. It sucks up like half a litre of tea every time I take a swig. So I went like that to mop some of it up, and I accidentally sort of got the tissue wiped across my lip. And I don't know if anybody else is like this, but to me, any kind of material touching my mouth, my lip or anything like that, it's like when you get nails down the blackboard to me. I don't mind nails on the blackboard, but any kind of fabric or anything on my mouth. Oh, so I had a bit of a oh, I'm getting the tingles now. It's a horrible feeling for me. I don't like it. Let's have a look. Philly is a sausage butty and Bench is a Games Workshop Sentinel. Yes. Oh, Athol says, you asked about what was on my bench, the first part of the Mortal Realms Ghosties. Oh, cool. Are you subscribing to that, or are you just buying them as you see them? It does look like that Mortal Realms. If you're not noticed, by the way, you know I'm doing the Warhammer Conquest. This is for everybody who's watching. They now do the Age of Sigmar equivalent called the Mortal Realms. The Mortal Realms! And it looks like another stonking value if you want to buy a couple of armies. It looks like you're going to get... It actually looks like you get more in that than you do in 40k Conquest, because you get all the dudes for both armies. But if you do for the if you go for the premium subscription, whereas I get like the battle, what they call the war gear packs, where I get like thick card playing boards and dice and stuff and data sheets. In the Sigmar stuff, you get like extra models from different factions. So it looks like you get a lot of stuff. Looks like it's going to be a massive savings as well. Because the beauty of this is that you're betting about 1,100 quid worth of stuff for about 800 quid. I could be wrong on the figures, but it's about that. You make saving a good chunk of money. So if you're thinking about, if you like your Sigmar and you want to build up a couple of armies, give it a go. Looks like it'll save you a lot of money. Right. S with the apostrophe is pronounced sh. Maj is pronounced like my. And GL is pronounced like ghoul. It's Slovene, by the way. So it'd be Schmeigel. So it is Schmeigel. Schmeigel. I know it's Schmeigel. Schmeigel. So I kind of had it. I didn't, did I? I didn't kind of have it anything like Schmeigel. There you go. Cool. The only other word I know, anything like that, is kvass. And I must try some kvass someday. That's only because I watch Yamix. Somebody sending me emails. Oh, I've got an email from Asda Customer Services. Ooh. Oh, hello. Right. This is important information. If you're in the UK and you shop at Asda, this is important information I'm going to share with you. Let me just get the information up. 1 second. This is very important information. Oh, no, it's completely useless. Oh well. We were trying to sort out, here's random domestic nonsense, but we got a pack of Asda Long Life milk, which is the green recycling. Useless. We get the green cartons of milk, and we're used to the ones we usually have. You can just put in the, you could treat them as paper and card, and you could put them in the recycling, in the paper and card. Clean them out, obviously. But on the box, it doesn't say anything. On the Asda ones, it just says widely recycled, check locally for curbside. So I mailed them and said, hey, that doesn't really tell me anything. Is it paper or is it plastic? Because it's like lined paper. Does it count as paper to go in my paper bin? Does it count as plastic to go in my plastic bottles bin? Or is it actually household waste? Which is your... Because the wording on the side doesn't tell you anything. And they've mailed me back and said, basically... Hi, it's on the side of the pack. It's exactly that. That's what it is. And it's on, I'm just checked now, and it's plastic. Check local recycling. Cap. See, the cap is plastic, so we put that in the normal household waste. Packing. Widely recycled at recycling points. Check locally for curbside. That doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't tell me if it's paper or card or... So, yeah, thanks, Asda. That was the most pointless reply ever. If I ask you, your box packaging is not clear, what is the actual recycling situation, then just saying it's whatever it says on the side of the package does not help me. So minus 10 points for any kind of service there. Idiots. I don't know. Anyway. Right, so let's crack on. So yes, we are making thermic plasma regulators. And I must say, I'm not a big fan of making the scenery items because they're not kind of interesting, but they're also massively thick plastic. We'll do, which one are we doing first? A. Let's do A first. They're made of thick, massive plastic, which is kind of a pain to clean up. And there's going to be a big seam line right down the middle of this one, which is going to be deep joy. So I'm not a big fan of doing the scenery items. I did debate whether just to put these to one side and crack on with the next thing. And do these some other time. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? No, I'll do them. I'll crack on. Do it in order, Fox. Stop jumping around. I've got the next ones out ready, just in case, because I forgot we had 2 of these sprues, not 1 of these sprues. So, yeah, thanks, Asda. That really totally didn't answer my question. Hi, your packaging says X. What's the... what does... Can you explain it further? Yes, on the packaging, it tells you. That's just what I've... It's like saying, hello, I'm blind. I can't tell the colour of this item. What colour is it? It's the colour that it is, that you can see. Thanks, that's really helpful. I don't know. Oh, well, never mind. Moving on. Oh, dear, how sad. Never mind. Never mind. Right, let's get these cut out. I don't know why. I never get excited about doing the scenery. I find it kind of tedious a little bit. I think it's also because I know I'm never going to actually use the scenery anyway. So. Now, if you weren't here at the start, as I explained at the start, this is the Warhammer Conquest part work, which is an 80-part magazine where you build up an Imperial and a Death Guard army and some scenery and bits and bobs. It's due to the awesome kindness of George, your mod George, who's in the chat, that I'm doing this. We've got a thing going on whereby what we're doing is, because George is ensuring that I can do this part work, we're actually going to split this. Once it's all been built and painted, we're going to split it. I'm going to keep the Death Guard, and George is going to go for the Space Marines. So that way, he gets a nice Space Marine army, and I get a nice Death Guard army. So massive thank you to George. Right. I'm going to get these nipped off. Then we'll have a look at the chattings. So how is everyone? How are you all? I hope you're all well. It's a challenge for me to know what to talk about now, because of course most of you probably watched my Elite Dangerous stream yesterday, so we've had all this conversation already. Just downside of doing 2 streams in 2 days. Let's have a look and see what I've been up to this week. No great news to impart, or import even. Nothing to get off there. Let's have a look. Oops. By the way, just seeing a comment pop up there. This is my stream, as in it's not any model stream, which are family friendly. This stream, by the way, not for kids. YouTube, gits. This is my stream, so you're allowed to do big swears and rude words in the chat if you want to. I don't care. I'm not going to read them out, because obviously I want to make an income off these videos. But if you want to use big swear words, you can do, or even small swear words. If you want to use swears in chat, feel free. I don't care. We're all grown-ups. A lot of you are patrons, which means you've got a bank card or a bank account, which means you're a grown-up, which means you're allowed to swear. So feel free. Of course, Paul from Team Inept does that straight away and then gets it out of his system, which is always good. Speedy Curate says, let's talk about the Rise of Skywalker. Let's not, because I haven't seen it yet. Pika pika! And it may well be months. Ooh, what was that one? Let me see what that one was. James Humphreys has donated £5 and says, down with George! Thank you very much, James. Thank you. That's gone into the community pot. And we'll hopefully start to coordinate and build up. That will take some of George's health off. He's now down to 96,000. 96,000 healths. Yes. Nice one. Like I say, keep in mind, it's a slow game. It does take, unless somebody dumps a load of money, it can take a while to build up. But of course, the trick is to put in as minimum amount of money as you can while getting, if you win, you want to put in as little as possible, get out as much as possible. Now, I do change quite regularly how much is taken off every time, per dollar. So don't make any assumptions. Right, so that's those parts there. Foxy, no reference, Mortal Realms. I just bought the first part because it's cheap, as I am a typical Scotsman. Yep, I'm half Scottish, so I'm half the same. No, it's absolutely fine. It does seem a shame that, it's not a shame, but the Warhammer Conquest one, the first part, you got like 3 pots of paint for $1.99. That's amazing. The Mortal Realms one, you don't get any free paints in the first issue, which is a shame, but you get a nice selection of plastics. Yes, I haven't watched the new Star Wars film yet, and it will be months before I do. So, no spoilers, please. No discussions. Mods will actually kick anyone out who does spoilers for that. I've just decided. So there you go, mods. Yeah, no discussions of that. I will see it. It's just, I won't see it till it's online and streamable. So that's going to be a while. I don't enjoy, you might say, why don't I just go and see it? It's because there's one thing I can't stand, it's going to the cinema which sounds weird, but you know what? I don't enjoy watching a film at the cinema because the food is too expensive. Seriously, like £8 for that hot dog, you don't even get onions. The food's too expensive, the drink's too expensive, the seats are comfy, unless you pay more for the leather seats. The seats are acceptable, but not brilliant. I always end up with leg cramps, again, unless I pay extra for the sofa type seats. And I always need to go for a wee halfway through, which is pointless, because then I have no choice but to either sit and suffer or miss some of the film. Whereas if I just watch it at home, stream it, I can actually, pause the movie, not miss anything, and I can go downstairs and get food and drinks whenever I want for free. And I don't have to put up with other people there at the same time, rustling their food and yakking and waving their phones about and all that kind of nonsense. I don't have to put up with any of that. So why would anybody go to the cinema? Unless you go with a group of people to watch something as a bit of fun, that makes sense. But going on your own, I wouldn't. Or just like one or two of you, I wouldn't. I'd rather not spend the money. You can come out of a cinema and watch a film and spend upwards of £50, and you've missed chunks of it because you had to go for a wee. You've sat there for 2 hours thinking, I really want a Coke or a drink or something, but it means I've got to go and get one, and that's again missing out bits of the film. There's no point. I don't understand. Totally pointless. Do. I will come back and check the chat in a moment. Yes, it's a long time since. I mean, what was the last thing I watched in the cinema? It was probably the last. What was the first one that came out? The 7. The last. No, what was the last one? The last one was The Last Jedi. The first one, what was the Force Awakens? I probably went and watched. I think it was that I went to watch. I think it was the last thing I watched in cinemas. I went on a Monday during the week because I obviously work from home, so I can go anytime I want. And there was almost nobody there, so that was quite blissful. There was no one else there. I could just spread out a couple of chairs with all my drinks and food and stuff, but it was still not an enjoyable experience. The other thing, of course, is I don't know. I don't find the cinema viewing experience to be fun because, yes, the picture's like 30, 40 foot long and 20 foot high, but you know what? It looks better on my 4K Spirit telly. And yes, you've got the cinema surround system, but you know what? It sounds better on my own little home surround system because I'm not in a massive auditorium with all the booming bass, and often the audio mix is too loud for me anyway, so I don't know. I'm never happy. I can't enjoy a movie on the big screen. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just weird. I'd much rather just have my telly, my surround system, access to beverages and foods. There you go, nice and shiny. Not liking these bits. Thy Creator says, hasta la vista, gotta go. Thanks for coming in there, Thy Creator. Do. Jamie Bone says something about Star Wars, but I'm denying it because I'm sure that doesn't actually exist. Do. So yeah, I'm not a big cinema goer. I just find it as an overexpensive way to watch a film in the worst way possible. The worst environment to watch a film. Loud and boomy and nah. Never enjoyed it. Got those bits. Little bits of chocolatey plastic on my desk. I've got two little tiny pieces here. Little small piece, it were. Trim that. And a little trim there. That's the thing that gets me about hot dogs in our local cinemas, right? Why? It's like you get our cinemas around here. You get the hot dog, and it's a Herta, which is a good start. It's a Herta hot dog, which is right, which is correct. but it's like a foot long, which is good. It's a ginormous one. But you get a bun in which you find an hot dog. That's it. And I'm like, wait, what? Where's the onion? Where's the onion? Where's the sauces? No, it's and bun and hot dog. Done. 10 quid. I don't think so. I don't think so. Right. Quick look at the chat before I do sanding time. I'm going to put that on there like that. You see, safety. DJ Pie safety. Dave says he went to see it last week with Tommy, but he had a panic attack with the crowd, so he went to Burger King instead. There you go. Arthur Nichols says, Fox, I've never seen any Star Wars in any shape or format. I don't understand how you can't have. You need to watch the originals. Paul says I might just spoil it to cause havoc. Dad also says he's not watched any Star Wars. I don't understand how you can get to this day and age and not have watched Star Wars. It's just not right. Need a pause button at the cinema. The cramp is free, says Earl D. Yeah, when you get to cinema. Phil E says, same for me, Fox, but our cinema just switched to ridiculously comfy chair, so I went to a midnight showing. Yep. Ours has like the sofa things at the back and the lazy boys where you can get beers and stuff. You can press a button and the man comes to you with beers, which is fine. But it still costs a fortune, and I still have to get up for a whiz halfway through and miss 20 minutes of the film. So... Andy McLeish says, oh no, I just realised I have a Master Grade Zaku. Zaku beads! Yep, Zaku beads. Last thing I went to see was Mortal Engines, which was pants, but the steampunk costumes were fantastic. I didn't have any interest in that. Didn't look like anything I want to watch. It was okay, he says. Thought the plot was a bit weak. I'll skip cinema for most things, but when it's a space epic, cinema is the bestest. I don't do it. Paul Team Inept says, I like the cinema because me and gross models get to snuggle up and watch a film. Kissy kissy. Oh dear. Stardust was also epic on the big screen, purely to watch Ricky Gervais get stabbed in big scale. If only they repeated that bit several times. Yeah, I can't stand Ricky Gervais. Why do people like Ricky Gervais? I just don't find him funny at all. It's annoying. David Butch, that model, says, Cuddling Chris, bucket table for one, please. I've not watched any of the Middle-earth films, says David Sanderson. Me neither. I've no interest in Lord of the Rings. Just none whatsoever. My friend was like, you need to watch the 3 Peter Thingy Jackson, and I'm like, how about now? It's la-di-da poncy fantasy nonsense, which I have no interest in until. Having said that, I'm playing Skyrim again, which is kind of weird, but hey. Let's have a look. Now, this is interesting to me and probably nobody else in chat, but Candygram from Mongo says, Synthesizer news! Korg announced a reissue clone of the amazing ARP 2600 semi-modular synthesizer from 1971. Oh, wow! The ARP 2600 or the ARP... Oh, that's a legendary... If you used to listen to Jean-Michel Jarre before he became garbage in his early days, ARP 2600s... Oh. Yeah, they were the bee's knees. They are legendary. Now, what we need now is for Casio. I don't want to do that, do I? We want Casio to reissue the whatever that one that Vangelis used all the time that I forgot the name of. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, what? A6, A5. Oh, flange magnets. I've got the wrong bit. I need one of them. I need one of them as well. It's not. Games Workshop put on one sprue that and that. So you would naturally think that and that are the set of. No, that one goes with that one. That one goes with that one. Games Workshop, you guys are idiots. You know, now I've got to do 2 more now. Flipping Nora. No, I haven't buggered it up, Paul. Just got the wrong bit off the sprue because Games Workshop... I forgot for a minute that Games Workshop have no sense of making things make any sense at all. Do you know? I don't know. Yeah, Op 2600. Ooh. I've had some classic synths. Nobody will get, none of you, apart from obviously clearly now Candy Graph and Mongo. I've had some beautiful synths in my day because I went through a big phase of having the synthesizers. Obviously, I used to do electronic music. What have I had in my time? I have had some classics. I had a Juno 6, Roland Juno 6. Didn't use it much, but it was great for sort of horny sounds. Roland Juno 6. I had a Korg Poly 6, which I adored. It was fantastic. It was fantastic for sweeping horn sounds, and the arpeggiator was great for sort of real clunky basses. If you wanted a nice simple arpeggiated bass, the beauty of it was when I got it, it's got 6 oscillator chips. Poly 6, you can do 6 things at once. And one of the oscillator chips had gone, it had blown. So what I did was, I got my brother, I found out what the chip, this is in the days before the internet, mind, or very early internet. I got my brother to find out what the chip was. We took it apart, we looked at the chip, and it was a Motorola chip that just happened to still exist. They still make it. And my brother at the time worked for Ford, and he went to his work stores and he said, we've got some of these chips. We use them for all kinds of things in old Fords. We use these chips. I'll send you a couple. So he sent me one of these chips, one of the oscillator chips. Because it wasn't made for that. It was just a generic chip, like a Motorola processor. And I popped it in. And what happened from that point, because what it would do, when the chip was broken, you'd get, if you held like the arpeggiator down, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th note, there'd be no sound. So it'd go da 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 da. It would miss out the 6th note because the oscillator didn't work. So when we put the new oscillator in, of course it's a brand new chip compared to these other chips that are like 30 years old, 20 odd years old. It worked, but it was a sharper, it had more cutoff, it was a brighter sound. So what it became was, in an arpeggio, every 6th note was a little bit brighter. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was fantastic. It made arpeggios fantastic. So I loved that keyboard. Eventually it just died completely though and went into the tip, unfortunately, in the end. It was irretrievable. So we had got all the nibs on there. So I had a Korg Poly 6, that was fantastic, beautiful. What else did I have? I had a DX21. DX21 or DX100. I had not a DX7, not a Yamaha DX7, but I had DX21, which was like a cheaper, smaller version. I didn't really use it that much, I have to be honest, because it was their FM synthesis was really not easy to figure out. It was really quite difficult to figure out. It was not, being used to subtractive synthesis, as we all are with our traditional synthesizers, suddenly going to Yamaha's additive synthesis, FM synthesis, really was mine. I could not figure it out. But there were 2 reasons I didn't go for it massively. One was, of course, that the method of synthesis was very confusing. But the other reason was that this was in the 1990s. And at that point, cheap computer sound cards all use Yamaha FM synthesis chips and bought on the boards. So if you played a computer game and it had a decent sound blaster or something similar, it used the same processors. So basically, any Yamaha DX series synthesizer, like from the 80s, that were revolutionary at their time. Think of all the bell sounds and slappy basses used here. They're revolutionary at the time. Now, it just sounded like you were playing a video game. So it ruined it. I couldn't use it because I'm like, oh, look, there's that bell sound oh dear, and it's all, yeah, it just sounded like crappy sound blaster. So I didn't use it that much. Plus, I couldn't actually program it anyway. So I had the DX21. I did have a Yamaha keytar at one point, like a guitar that you put around your neck, and it's got the long neck with the ribbon for the vibrato and stuff, the pitch bend ribbon. I can't remember what it was, but I had a keytar, but it never actually worked. I bought it and it never actually worked, and that's a shame because I never got to use it. Because eventually I just sold it, I think, to somebody else who was going to fix it. So it never actually worked. So I had a keytar, I can say that. I almost did a bit of, Jan Hammer style. What else did I have? I had, got to think now, it's going back years. I started off with a Roland D20, was my first ever proper digital synth, my first ever synthesizer. Roland D20. I had a Moog the Rogue, beautiful little monophonic Moog synthesizer. I also had a Micro Moog at one point. I eventually sold all those off. So I had a Micro Moog. I did at one point have access to a full modular Moog system. If some of my public domain music that I've made available to people is things like the Brandenburg concertos, which were done. They're terrible. They are. I mean, most of them are terrible. The third Brandenburg I didn't do a bad job of, but all the other ones, first, second, fifth, they're pretty terrible. They just sound like crappy sound card music. But it's because I had access to a modular Moog for a while, so I used that on my other Moogs to do sort of Wendy Carlos style stuff. And they are actually, I've made some of them available for public domain, but they are pretty much absolute gash. They sound just like sound card music. They sound terrible. But hey, it's free music. Incidentally, if you're one of my patrons, by the way, I am slowly but surely over time posting up my public domain music. So if you make YouTube videos and you need free music, I have posted up some stuff on the Patreon page for patrons only, where they can easily access and download it. I have put a lot of my stuff up on YouTube as videos, but then you have to go and fart around and find the video, and then you have to try and download that, and yeah. Whereas on Patreon, it's just a link. So there is a filter, there is a tag for it. You can do a tag search for that. It's on there for you. What else did I have? So I had a Moog the Rogue, I had a Moog, Micro Moog. I had... I can't remember now half the keyboards I've had loads of them, vintagey ones. Because I got ones that I'd got and then didn't use much and sold them. What else did I have? I can't think now. So I started with a D20, Roland D20. I got a Roland W30, which was a sampling synthesizer, which was fantastic. The D20 was basically a DAC synthesizer, sort of digital, not wiggly knobs, with a sequencer built in, a simple sequencer. That was brilliant. The Roland W30 was basically a sequencer, not super powerful, but a sequencer with a simple sampling synthesizer built in. That was pretty good. Again, got that in the 90s. How's that looking? Is that looking nice and smooth? It's round and earthy. Now, if you remember watching last week, I told you all about what to do with cylinders and tubes when it comes to nubs. None of the nubs on this are particularly going over the seam line in the middle, so that's why I'm doing these individually now and not putting it together first, but I will do a little bit of that. What else did I used to have? I had a Juno 6. Juno 6, I think, the smaller one, the cheaper one, that I had for a while. There was something, I'm sure I used to have others. There was other ones I had that I can't remember what they were now. But yeah, for a good 15-20 years, synth music, operating synthesizers and creating music was my massive thing. I had Yamaha CS1X for quite a while. Did a lot of work on that. That was beautiful. But I kind of fell out of doing the music before the sort of rebirth of analog twiddly knob synthesizers. There's a resurgence, and it's been going on for quite a while now. If you don't know, synthesizers went from lots of knobs and twiddly knobs and things. You turn dials and things. They went from that, which was additive synthesis, with analog synthesizers, with filters and oscillators. It went from that in the 80s and became DAC control. So you've got like a little tiny screen, and you go up and you've got buttons, and instead of having an oscillator that does triangle, saw, and square wave, you have a sample of a square wave, and you edit that, and it became more digital. So you're editing parameters one by one on a little tiny screen. It kind of went away from that. It's coming back now to going back to twiddly knobs because people want that instant control. The difference being that on an old analog synth, you can have an arpeggio playing, and you can change like the resonance or the cutoff frequency or the oscillate. You can change it as it's playing out. So yeah, I did kind of miss the old analogs. They were fantastic. But that's coming back now. But I dropped out of the whole synthesizer thing well before that came back in, or before that started to happen. So Everyone wants a twiddly knob, says Chris at Gross Models. Triangle, says Gross Models. Yes, this is correct. I forgot my special tools. I need to show you my special tool. So yeah, I used to love analog synthesizers. I used to have a little recording setup here where this workbench is now. I used to have. I'll tell you through my setup. Nobody will find this interesting, but this was my setup. I used to have a Tascam 388 reel. No, is that the one? Yeah, Tascam 388 reel-to-reel 8-track studio recorder, which was basically old reel-to-reel quarter-inch tapes. It was an 8-track and it had the mixer and stuff built in, so you had 8 tracks, you could record 7 tracks, bounce them to 1 and all that kind of stuff. So technically it was a proper piece of studio kit, but like a small version. But when I got mine, it was already like 15 years old, so the heads were a bit funky. So I used to use that for recording for a long time, and I can't explain to you the smell when you open and unopened, you unseal a brand new 3M quarter-inch reel-to-reel tape. Oh, it's like caramel. It's a delightful smell. It's one of the nicest things I've ever smelled in my life. It's like audio tape. It's brilliant, fantastic. So I used that for a long time. I had various effects units and mixing units and stuff plugged into that, so I could have like all my keyboards plugged in and I could change volumes and panning and everything as I went along. I can't remember all the specifics now. After a while I got a Tascam D80, which was a hard drive 8-track recorder. So it's basically, instead of having a reel-to-reel tape, this is like the mid-90s, so it's quite revolutionary. Instead of having a reel-to-reel tape to record on, which you can then master down to, you know, CDs and stuff, it actually used a hard drive. In them days, it was a 500 megabyte hard drive. Revolutionary. I paid a fortune for it. It was brand new at the time. But that gave me proper digital quality recordings. And then I just used the old 8-track for its mixer, basically. I have various effects boxes and drum machines. I did have an old Boss Dr. Rhythm at one point, the old kind of like old analog drum machines. I had a couple of Yamahas and a DR550, I think it was, which was the modern digital one. What else did I have? I did have a DAT recorder. Most people won't know what this is. I used a DAT, D-A-T, DAT recorder. Because what I would do is I would record music onto the digital hard drive DA80 or D80, whatever it was, and I would use the mixer on the old reel-to-reel 8-track to mix it down to that. So I'd play my synthesizer, it'd go through the old 8-track mixer, then that would be fed into the D80 hard drive 8-track recorder, which had a little removable front plate that you could have on the keyboard, and it had all the little meters going up and down and the jog wheel and stuff, and that was on a big cable that went to the hard drive. It was great. And that was your recording studio, basically. And then what I would do is I'll do a track, get it all mixed and how I wanted it. And then what I would do then is, once I had everything recorded, I'd work out the mix, the final mix. That would then be played into the DAT recorder, DAT, the DAT recorder, which uses a digital audio tape. A little tape about this big. I've still got them somewhere. That will be mastered onto there, so it's mastering onto digital tape from a digital hard drive, so it's still all digital, studio quality. And then from there, I had, showing you how long ago this was, I had a very expensive tape deck, which was specifically for mastering onto tape from DAT, so I could play it from the DAT machine onto an audio cassette. And it was a proper professional level. It wasn't like, your home stereo nonsense. It was a proper professional thing with all the various Dolby noise reduction built in and stuff. You had to tweak it and stuff. And I could also, later on then, when it got into the late 90s, early 2000s, of course, I could then hook up to my computer to record it onto my computer as a digital file. But a lot of the times I was mastering from the digital recording onto DAT, and then from DAT to cassette. Because, of course, CDRs were still unheard of at that point. They weren't unheard of, but nobody owned a CDR device. Everything was cassette, so, yeah. In them days. Those were the days. Dave says, so it went from disc to DAT. Kind of. Now I've not looked at the chat for a while, so I'll stop in a minute because I've got no idea what you guys are talking about. None of that can have been of any interest to anybody at all, apart from Candygram maybe. And even then, it's like, you shut up now. So yeah, I do miss those days. But yes, that studio setup used to be here, where this workbench is, and it used to take up this entire end of the room. Because I'd have my recording setup there, a rack full of all the sort of studio equipment here, and then all my keyboards here on racks. So yeah, it took up the whole end of the room. So when I started this, of course, I had to sell all my synths and recording equipment to have this workbench. But I'll be honest, I kind of faded away from doing it for the last sort of 10 years. I got all this stuff set up in about 2011. When I got back into the modelling hobby. But I know that I hadn't really recorded any music for 7 or 8 years. I'd lost the mojo for the music. When I started off doing, writing music, I was listening to things like Jar and Vangelis and stuff like that on a daily basis. That was the music I listened to, and what I was doing was listening to the music, understanding it, learning how it was made just by listening to it, because I could pick out different sounds. And once I figured out how, started to use synthesizers, I started to understand all the different sounds. So on a piece by Jar, I could listen to, say, Magnetic Fields Part 1 and I could tell what was what, and that was this sound, and that was this sound, and here's how he made that effect. And it helped me learn how to do it. So when I was doing my early music, of course, I was doing electronica because that's what I listened to. But in later years, I moved away from electronica and started listening to more like orchestral soundtracks and things like that, more orchestral stuff and less synth stuff. And it just kind of faded away because I started to try and recreate the orchestral sound on synths, which at the time just couldn't do it very well. I mean, you look at some stuff now, there's equipment out there where you can virtually recreate a real orchestra that sounds pretty much spot on. Most people wouldn't know, and a lot of people that write movie soundtracks, they use stuff like that to sort of do rough cuts of the soundtrack they're writing, so the people that then transcribe it to scores for orchestras to perform can know what they're doing. But that kind of kit didn't exist in them days. It was simple basic samplers that were almost okay at best. I had an Akai S2000 sampler as well, which was, it was passable, but it wasn't there. It didn't really work, and that kind of just killed my mojo because I was trying to do something I couldn't really do very well, and it made because the hardware couldn't do it, and it made my mojo fade away. And in the end, I just lost all the urge. I tried writing tunes. When I realised I couldn't do orchestral, it just wasn't going to happen. I tried going back to electronica, and it was just gone because I hadn't listened to electronica for so long. It was just not there. I was trying to write tunes that came out as just like simple and bland and generic, and I was like, that's not even interesting. And I'm thinking, if I've written this piece and I don't find it interesting, then how is anybody else going to find it interesting? So it all faded away. The last piece, it went quiet for a long time, for many, many years, because I just lost the ability. And then I think the last piece I ever recorded was a piece called Kleine Bear, which you'll have heard on videos. It's whenever I put a test card up and you've got that sort of cheesy piano and flute and clarinet sound doing the test card, like some of the technical difficulties elevating. That's called Kleine Bear. Kleine Bear means little bear in German. And that was the last piece I ever wrote, and that was around about 2008. I hadn't written anything for about 6 or 7 years. I wrote that, and that was it. It was the last thing. Anyway, let's clean this little bit up. I shall have a look at chat and see what you're doing, because I need to take a quick minute break to look at chat. Let me get a bit of tissue that I can clean up this shenanigans here. And then we'll do some gluage. I'll just scrape all this away. So yeah, how is everyone? I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a good New Year. If you haven't been on watch a stream since Christmas and stuff, I hope you had a good Christmas, and I hope you had a good New Year. I did myself. Lots of family and stuff and all that kind of goodness. Have a quick look at chat. I probably squeezed through lots of this because I'm sure you got bored talking about synthesizers. Team Inept says Gervais is so far up his own backside that the label on his pants is in his neck. Yep, Eric Graham is not at all interested in the new Star Wars movies. Foxy says, I thought I was too busy watching Stargate and Stargate Atlantis series. This is acceptable. SG1 for the win. However, Star Wars did come out in 1977. Yeah. You still need to go and watch some, but not all, of Star Wars. You need to go and watch, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Jedi. Maybe Jedi. This one goes there. That one goes there. Star Wars reference. Why did my YouTube just decide it would be better to watch in 360p? Rubbish broadband. Because it makes Fox look better. Shut up. David Sanders says, Emulator 2, Roland Jupiter 8. No, I never had an Emulator 2. Always wanted one. Always wanted an emulator. I always wanted a Prophet as well. Never had a Prophet, but I always wanted one. But it was weird because it got to the point where I could hear a sound and know what synth made it. Because there were certain sounds that certain synths made that it were unique. Like, for example, if you know Jar and you listen to Rendezvous, on the second side, on B side, you go through all the bit where the little bits of tunes come in and out, weave in and out. And there's that kind of sound. That was a Prophet. I think it was Prophet. Yes, it was Prophet. And I had samples of that specific sound that I used in other places. Oh no, a blown oscillator chip. Did you bypass it, diverting the power to a 3mm semi-automatic fluctuating kerfuffle valve? No, I used the Wasp oscillator with the overhead camshaft blip murderator. My Dr. Pal, says Earl D, was at a party in London and he was chatting to a chap and the chap said, do you not know who I am? It was Ricky Gervais and his answer was, hello Ricky, so what do you do then? Yes. That's one screwed up chocolate bunny that Fox is working on. Andy McLeese says, oh no, it's home time. Oh well, thanks for coming in, buddy. If you don't use a synthesizer to emulate Hammond organ North of England club singer backing music, you're doing it wrong. My dad did have a Hammond organ for a while, but there was no way to connect it to anything. It was... Team Inept says, Thimple sampling synthesizer. Synthesizer. Right, so you're yakking about music and not anything I'm interested in. I'm off to defrost my tortillas for tonight's yummy meal and need to wash the beans. By all, including Dad. We've finished now, but I guess you've gone. Thanks for coming anyway. Everyone wants a twiddly knob. Everybody's talking about twiddly knobs now. Paul is, I think, having gluing issues. Lewis Williamson is in. Afternoon. Sorry I'm late. No worries, matey. Let's change the subject to food, says Jamie. It's always the worst thing, though, because I always get really hungry. Philly says, back soon, taking the dog for a walk. My first synthesizer, part 5, like and subscribe, says Paul at Team Inept. I could talk about synths all day and I don't even play the technical aspects. Oh, fascinating, says Candy Bear. Yes, well, we should stop now anyway, because everybody else is falling asleep. Wow, I've got 57 viewers. Holy crap. I didn't even know that. Thank you to everyone who's watching. Wow, even through talking about synthesizers. Anyway, more work. So, let's get this complex build process carried out, shall we? So we have two bits that go together from different sprues. God damn it. Like this, you see? And this attaches on to back. Like that. It can go anywhere you want it to, as long as it goes there. There you go. That's very simple. Now, what we have here, looking at this, we have a bit of a seam line here. We have a little seam line here, but it's done as a panel line, so I can ignore the little bit of a seam line there, and on this bit, that's nothing major. A bit of a nub, I can clean that later. The seam line down there, you can't really see because it's covered in mechanical stuff. That looks like an intended seam line, like a panel line, so I can leave that. So it's not actually that bad for seam lines. You've got a little bit there on this top bit. Got a little bit there, maybe. You have got a seam line through here, but I'm hoping I can fill that in with the squishy glue and then just gently sand in there later. So that's not so bad. So let's get this glue together. There's nothing else better on, says Eric Graham. Thanks, Mum. Thanks for that. Right, so get the extra thins in my dad device, of course. We're going to just run it through. Now, I could just put it on either side and then work it round, but it could just fall apart. But it would actually just completely, hang on, I haven't got enough hands. It would just completely evaporate away by the time I got anywhere near putting the two halves together. So we'll work our way around slowly. Do all the big bits first. Big bits, big bits. Don't know what we're having for dinner. Talking of food, I have no idea what the plan is for the meal of the evening. Yesterday was... I finished the Elite stream yesterday, and I have to be honest, I had a raging headache. I was in no mood to make anything. So I says to Mama Fox, I says, right, I think the best thing we can do right now is pay a little man to come and deliver food to us. So we paid a little man who delivered some noodles, some delightful noodles. Jolly good. And they were, of course, most delicious. Because when is udon? Never a good idea. There's no time at which udon is a bad idea. Udon is always correct. Right, so that's going to go on there. We can squish that a little bit. The only problem here is it's such a big thing to glue together that by the time I get round to squishing it, all the glue's going to have evaporated away. I don't want to cover it in regular thick cement because that's just going to splurge out and make a right mess. So, we will squish like we mean it. Squish me like one of your French girls. I don't know what that means. Squishing that, squishing that. We may have to live with a bit of a seam line down that bit if I can't squish the glue out and it doesn't want to cooperate. Get glue inside there, that's pretty easy. Doodle doo doo doodle doo doo doodle doo 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 doo. Gluing, 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 gluing. Yeah, I don't enjoy doing scenery. I don't know why. It just kind of bores me. Scenery. Partially because I know I'm not going to use it, but it's not like a dude, is it? Dudes are cool. Now, I'm not being careful with the glue here because I'm going to sand this down anyway. I just need to get glue in so it can squish out. I need to get some of this little grill thing here. But I may have to live with some little seam lines because that's not got any glue in it, and I can't get glue in it. Sneaks in with coffee and sits down. Says Scale Model Muse. I think we saw you. Sussed. I ran my Nintendo Switch. I'll start that again. Earl D says I ran my Nintendo Switch through a tube guitar amp. It was loud. I can imagine. Udon appeals a lot less if you've just watched a documentary on tapeworms. No, it wouldn't put me off. I still eat udon. I found out my local chippy actually does udon. I need to try that at some point. The chippy that I get me, 2 smoky sausage, steak and kidney pud, chips, gravy and mushy peas from of a Friday. They also do udon because they use some Chinese food. They're basically a chippy, but they have a Chinese chef in the back that makes the Chinese food. So I may have to try their udon. I said, what are your udon? Are they proper like big fat worm noodles? And they went, oh yeah, big fatness. I said, this sounds acceptable. I may have to investigate your offerings. Okay, so that's on there. I've got a nub there that I hadn't spotted. You little... Oh, nubitations. Oh, hard to get to nub as well. Oh, I didn't spot that. Let's carve that off and we'll go a bit of filing action. Hardcore filing action. Now you might wonder why I use a metal file sometimes and other times not a metal file. I'll often combine a metal file as the rough cut and then a sponge like this as the mild cut. But you'll see that sometimes I go straight in with a metal file. And sometimes I go in with a rough sanding stick first and then a metal file or just a metal rough sanding stick and then the rest of the sanding. And you might be wondering, how do I know which one to use? And the truth is, there's no real right answer. What I've found is that a metal file, especially like this is an old... Oh, hello, morning, too much gin. This is an old file from a cheap file set I got from B&Q like 20 years ago. An old metal file that's slightly worn down actually gives you a cleaner sanding experience than, say, a rough sanding stick. I don't know what grit that is, because Paul at UMP, I love your sanding sticks, but as I've said before, you need to print on what the grit is so I can pimp them. It's a rough one anyway. That leaves really scratchy surface, whereas a file sometimes can remove a nub but leave a smooth surface, or an easier to clean up smooth surface. So it's weird that a metal file is actually gentler than a sanding stick whilst being more aggressive. I know it makes no sense, but hey, what can you do? Right, so that's there. We need 2. Watch Talking About Gravy in these parts. Dave at Butch the Model Fox sent you a message on Messenger. I can't look at it though, because I can't do anything on my PC at risk of destroying the stream. If it's anything urgent for the stream, the best thing... Actually, no, I can't do. Hang on. Let me see what you've sent me. Hang on, I'll use my phone, my magical phone, if I can get into it. Unlock. Thank you. Do. Hurry up, I finished mine already, says Dave. He sent me a photograph of it. Well, just, you're not having to be pretty on telly at the same time, are you? Shut up. Do. My friend Mark is an audio nutter. His expensive surround sound setup is tube amp based and sounds amazing, so I thought I could do that. It was not the same, lol, says LD. Yes. When many years ago, I used to work with a guy who was equally an audiophile, and I need to glue this on somewhere. This goes on the back there. He found plans. This is going back to the early 90s. He found plans to make what was touted as the best tube amp in the world. It was about 500 quid to make your own. So he made one for me, and it was actually fantastic. It was a fantastic thing. It was a beautiful amp. It was basically just he got a big metal case and built the amp into it, and it was fantastic. It was awesome. I'm going to give him credit for that. But that's long gone. Again, that's something that's long gone. I think it went west when I stopped actually having a stereo. Because, you know, it went through a phase, the 90s, where, you know, I had a separate system, stereo separate system, you know, CD player and amp and EQ unit and stuff. And I had a record player as well, because I had some albums. And then, what happened then? Then it kind of got to the age then of actually having a computer. Because up until like the early 2000s, I didn't actually have a computer. Mum and Fox had a computer, because she used it for, like, you know, word processing and just surfing not surfing the internet, but word processing and stuff like that. She used to play simple little games on it, and that was her thing. I used to use it occasionally. I played Quake on it and stuff in the 90s, but so Mum and Fox used to have this little computer that I would have a go on occasionally, but in reality, I didn't actually have a computer till probably 2003, 2004, something like maybe 2005, as late as that. Because at the time I had a day job anyway, so I was you know, working away at my day job, and when I came home, I was playing Halo on the Xbox, because I had an original Xbox, so I was playing that all day. So I didn't really have a need for a computer at that point. But I did get one eventually, in the early days of the early internet. And then from that point, I just kind of listened to music on the computer then. I didn't need a stereo system anymore. So the stereo system went west. Go west. Where does this thing go? It goes somewhere. It goes here. Like there. So I need some tweezers. Tweezers are required. Hand-built tube amps are really expensive nowadays. Yeah, I mean, I paid this guy I used to work with about 500 quid, and it was a fantastic amp. I don't know. He had some article from a magazine from many years ago that he used. It was like how to build the best amp in the world yourself. And what I did was as well, I also went to... I had this amp made, but then I needed some proper speakers. So I went to a place near me. I don't know if it's not Richer Sounds. There's a place near me, and I think they're still there, that did like kits. You could buy kits for speakers. And what they do is they sell you all the electronics and the MDF box unit and stuff, and you build it yourself. You can customize the list to get your own bits and bobs in there. So I made my own speakers, and they were fantastic. And when I did for a little while have a little studio in Manchester, little recording studio, I rented an office in Ducey House, before the one that was above Home Nightclub, if you know Manchester, and made it into a little recording studio. And I did use those as my monitor speakers back in the day. So, right, that's that built. I built one. Oh, no, I haven't. Hang on. Not yet, Mrs. Wembley, not yet. We'll glue that on. That's going to require some thick glue. Okay, is that... I'm assuming that's not actually PewDiePie in my chat. Welcome PewDiePie, or PewDiePie sort of, whoever you are. Welcome, welcome. If it is actually PewDiePie, then that's the best thing ever, but I suspect it's not actually PewDiePie. But welcome, welcome. Not quite sure about you wanting to watch my stream, but he's got a tick next to his name. Yes. Let's have a look. Paul Di Tommaso says, hello, how is everyone today? Hey Paul, how you doing, matey? How's the factory? All is well, I hope. What's talking about? I've lost track of what's talking about now. I suspect that's not actually PewDiePie. There's no reason I can think of why he would want to watch one of my videos. But hey Felix, you're more than welcome. All is well, Fox, says Paul. Cool. Right, that's a significance of glue on there. Is now attachmating it. The reason I use the thick glue is just purely because, as I've said before, to me extra thin is a fantastic glue. It melts the plastic and welds it together. But for the first few minutes, while it's doing its melting plastic and welding thing, it's not going to grip anything. Nothing's going to stay. It's going to fall off. So anything like that, where it's load bearing, it's got to hold up with weight. I use the sort of regular thick glue because it's more gloopy, and therefore it has a little bit of not chemical stick, but mechanical stick. So it does stick in place a little bit. So it just helps. If you're doing gluing on like arms or anything load bearing like that, where there's no pins and pegs, use the thick glue to glue it on, and then thin glue to unglue it. Ian's car says, yes, that is PewDiePie. Cool. Well, awesome. You are more than welcome. If you are PewDiePie, welcome, welcome. Hello. I hope you are well. Does this mean PewDiePie has a secret Warhammer thing going on that we don't know about? Because that'd be cool. That would be awesome. So, there we go. Get this off the sprue. For anybody who didn't join at the start, when we asked the most important question, bench and belly. What's on the bench and what's in your belly? So if you weren't here earlier on, what you're working on right now, and what are you having for your dinner, or what are you planning to have for your dinner? I was wondering when he would notice, says Scale Model Muse. I don't get to look at the chat very often. I'm too busy doing this nonsense and trying to talk to you guys. I've just got to check something here. How does it? Yeah, hang on. I'm going to have a quick look at something. Doodle doodle doo doodle doo doo doodle doodle doo doo. Anyway, yes. Sidetrack there. Chris at Gross Model says, yes, totally real. 51 views on a day old video must be PewDiePie. Yeah, I don't know. Right, swig of tea. Sorry, an hour old video. Eric Graham says, hey, Gross Models. Fox is using his dad's device for holding glue. Just saying. I'm not getting involved in that, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. Lewis Williamson says, bench some of the Space Marine thingies. Super specific there, thank you for that. I'm barely not sure as not feeling well at all. Oh no, I hope you get better soon. You and Dad are both poorly sick today. This is not good. We need less poorly sickness. I must admit, yesterday when I was doing the Elite stream, I was feeling a bit crook. I had that kind of off belly feeling, like slight discomfort, not like I'm about to do a catastrophic butt failure or something like that, but something wasn't right and I may have to go and either be sick or do some kind of body function of some sort. But it never happened. But it was that kind of slight discomfort. Not a bubbly gut, like I'm going to go and do hosepipe mode. Not like that, but it wasn't very pleasant, whatever it was. It went away in the end. But then it was replaced by the mother of all headaches, which I was super happy about. Because earlier on in the day, me and Chris and TK, we were going to go and play some Xbox. Because me and Chris and Paul kind of badgered TK, our very good friend TK from TK's Models, badgered TK to get an Xbox. And then he got the Xbox, and then we never get a chance to catch up with him and play some games because I'm always busy doing stuff and everybody else is busy doing stuff, and he's got his little daughter. So I did join up with him on Friday night because I went on, have a quick bit of Skyrim, and TK was playing Worms. So I hung out with TK for a bit on Friday and did some chatting. But yeah, I mean, last night my head was banging. And I couldn't have sat there with the headset on listening to chat because it just would have killed me having a headset. I would have been like, oh, I can't listen to this. Ugh. Last thing you want with a boomy head is a headset on a chat headset. This one I have already cleaned up a little bit, I think. Just a tiny amount. But for some reason, while I'm doing... do you know what? There's a nub there. Oh, I'd noticed that nub. Because I'm doing Elite Dangerous on Saturdays. For Sidewinder Saturdays. I haven't been playing it during the week. Because I don't really want to... I want to Sidewinder Saturdays to be the continuing story each week. So... what I started to do, I thought, well, I want to play something. But nothing was really jumping out at me as something I wanted to play. So I've just discovered a seam line I didn't know about. So I thought I'll pop Skyrim in again. Because I loaded up Fallout 4 and I could quite happily just sit and potter about in Fallout 4. You know, just if I want to play a game for a few hours. Or I've been working all day. If you remember, I've been working on George's Cesarean, and like I said on the stream yesterday. It's not hard work, but it's laborious work. You can't sit and do it for long because it really is. You've got to take your time with it and be careful with it. The little bits of inking I'm doing, so I can't sit there and work on it for 6 or 7 hours straight because it would just kill me. So what I'll do is I can only really get like maybe 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of inking done before I have to just step away from the bench. Because it's tiring doing little fiddly, delicate, hard thinking kind of work like that. So I've been taking coming up for air, like playing on the Xbox. I thought I'll do that. I'll do 3 or 4 hours of George's ink work, and then I'll get on the Xbox for a few hours, and that'll be my day. Thank you very much. But I didn't know what to play, so I loaded up Skyrim again, and I discovered that. I've got 2 playthroughs. One is like over 1,000 hours, and one is 600 or 700 hours. And the last playthrough I've got, because I was playing with mods, it had kind of broken. I'm guessing some of the mods that I had have kind of since broken a bit because I couldn't go into buildings. I'd go into a building and the game would never load it. So I figured out that some of the mods I've been using had obviously since gone wrong. So I turned off those mods. But it still didn't work. So I just thought, you know what, I'll just start again. I'll just start a whole new game. So I started a whole new game. And I haven't played it for quite a few years, and it's quite nice to go back to a game after a few years, especially like Skyrim, where you're just peaceful and fun. So I've started a new playthrough of that. Unfortunately, I was sorting out my new character, while I was chatting to TK on Friday, and I got distracted, and I kind of pressed the wrong button while I was putting my character's name in, and it registered his name halfway through the... So I typed in half his name and spelt it a bit wrong. So his name was going to be... I can't say actually his name because it'll give monetization, but it was going to be something similar to Clusterflock. Similar to that. But because I pressed the wrong button, the character's now called Clus. CLU big capital S. Because I pressed the wrong buttons, and there's no way to change the name now on Xbox. You can't change his name at all. There's a guy that can change your face later on in another town, but there's no one that can actually change. So this playthrough, because normally when I play a game, I give a character one of two names. My characters are either always called Planktons with an S on the end, or they're called the word that's a bit like Clusterflock. I'm not going to say the word out loud, but you can guess what it is. I don't know why, but I always call them that, which was kind of interesting when my nephews were quite young. Because they'd be like, Uncle Fox, can we play on the Xbox? Okay, so I'd turn it on, and they'd load a game up, and I'd be like, oh crap, I forgot, I've used my own characters, and you'd see these names, that second name, and I'd be like, oh yeah, they're like 7 years old. That was always interesting. But I'm like, hey, they're going to have to learn sometime. So yes, I've now got a playthrough with a character called Clus, with a big capital S on the end. But of course... being me, he is of course a Khajiit, because I always play as Khajiit. The only one worth playing. This one always plays as Khajiit. The sands are always soft under his feet. Yeah, always play as Khajiit. It's the law. It's the rules. Nubs. Paul at Team Inept says, I've always loved trashing Belethor's shop. Everything's for sale. Some would call this trash. Me, I call them treasures. Yeah, Belethor, bless him. Yeah, but when you trash Belethor's shop, do you put a bucket on his head so he can't see you? I did that. That was fun. So all I've done is I've kind of come out and I've got a couple of cheaty, slightly cheaty mods. I've not given myself God mode and stuff, but I've given myself a mod. So I've got a ring that gives me kind of like 100,000 carry weight, so I can carry loads of stuff. And I've got a mod for some clothing that gives me master level blacksmithing, just so I can speed up and get some decent weapons. Because what I'm going to do is just wander around and explore. I'm not going to take too much notice of the story, so I don't really mind cheating a little bit. Because, you know, my viewers expect it, but if I was doing like a live stream Skyrim playthrough, I wouldn't use any mods like that. But what was I going to say? Brain's gone. So yeah, I was playing through that. That's good fun. But yeah, it's like, because I've not played it for a few years, it's just remembering all the stuff. I've got some mods on that do things like they improve the NPCs. There's one that makes them a bit more realistic. They tend to, you know, do more things, walk around town a bit more really. They go and do things, they hang around, they say more of their lines, they repeat the lines less often, and if there's a fight going on, they react to it properly. Like if there's an enemy in the town, they'll react and fight and cower and do things like that. It just improves their behaviours basically. So I've got one of those. I've got one for weather and stuff like that. Graphics overhauls. I've not, the only real cheaty mods I've got are just the one for carry weight. I think that's the only one. Carry weight and the blacksmithing outfit. Here we go again with cheat gates, says Eric. Hey, it's my own playthrough just for my own fun, so I want to just wander around and explore. So I'm not going to limit myself to 320 carry weight. I was thinking about getting that Elite Dangerous for the PC. It's 20 quid on Steam. Do I need a joystick or not? Says David Butch, that model. You don't need a joystick, but if you play it with a controller, you'll hate the game. If you play it with a mouse and keyboard, you might hate the game. If you play it with a HOTAS stick, you will not in any way hate the game. If you can afford a HOTAS stick, get a HOTAS stick. And don't forget, if you do get Elite Dangerous, Dave, don't just go and buy the bog standard game. You want Elite Dangerous Horizons. That's the one with the planetary landings and stuff. Most of the content now is what came later. If you buy the bog standard Elite Dangerous bog standard version, you're going to have half the game missing. I would say go to your local game shop and see if they've got a pre-owned copy of Elite Dangerous Horizons. That's the original game and all the extra add-ons and stuff. And you might get that for like 10 or 15 quid. Do. I got the new Star Wars Fallen Order game for Xbox. Really enjoying it. It says Paul Di Tommaso. Cool. I'm going to get Skyrim for my Switch Lite. I can be amazed. Skyrim is a great game. It's quite funny because if you well, it's one of the, it came out in what, 2011. If you played Oblivion and you played Fallout 3, then Skyrim was the next game to come out, really. Ignoring New Vegas. Skyrim was the next game to come out. And from Oblivion, which looks just like awful, and I did try playing Oblivion and I hated it. It was just horrible. Oblivion was not fun to play. Everything was wrong with it. I couldn't stand it. And then, played Fallout 3, and Fallout was amazing, but it looked terrible. Even then, you were like, it's not the best looking game. Then Skyrim came along. I need to clear my throat. One sec. Sorry about that. Skyrim came along, and it was... Bear in mind, it came out, and the Xbox 360 was the console of choice. Skyrim came out, and it was like, whoa! This looks incredible. Beautiful landscapes, lighting. Wow. I mean, it still had the usual Bethesda, we can't quite draw people jank. I've always seen Bethesda as a bit like Revela, that they don't quite know how the human body actually works or how the human face is made. But they get close. They get reasonably close. So it was amazing. But looking back on it now, yeah, because then Fallout 4 came out and you're like, oh, well, it looks all right, but it's still kind of like Skyrim in a way. And they're kind of stuck there at the minute. But anyway, it looked amazing when it came out. And then they remastered it for Xbox One X, so it's in 4K and it's got, greater draw distance and loads more textures and stuff. I know they've remastered it a bit for the Switch now, and they've improved it in various ways. So yeah, if you've never played Skyrim, you can... If you've got time to... I'm saying this to TK, I said, if you've got time to spare, if you're not like... If you've got like an hour a day, maybe not, but if you've got the time to spare, and you like long, drawn-out experiences, and it's RPG light, it's not too complicated, but if you've got the time to spare, if you can put the hours into it, then I do recommend Skyrim. It's clunky and janky by today's standards, but it's still just really good fun. Because it's the typical Bethesda as they used to be, where you would get the game, you can either just do the storyline, and it'll be like 20 or 30 hours, or you can do the first few bits of storyline, and then just go off and explore at your own pace. It's great. I love it. And of course, I always play as an archer. I like my range, so I was sneaking around with my bow. I'm not one for swords and shields and that kind of stuff. But you can do that if you want. You can play as mage, you can play magic, you can play sword and shield. You can do as archery, thief, sneaking, or you can mix and match. You can change it as you go. It's quite flexible. So if you've never played Skyrim, but you like those kind of long drawn out open world experiences, go for it. It's really good fun. I really recommend it. And you can pick it up, like say second hand now, pre-owned for like a few quid if you look around. Don't buy it online on like Xbox Live, because Xbox are selling it for... I was looking with TK. Xbox are selling Skyrim, the remastered edition, which is the one for Xbox One X, 30 quid. I'm like, this is a 9-year-old game, yeah? All they've done is they've enabled basically the PC textures and graphics on the console version. That's what they've kind of done, and a few other little tweaks here and there. 30 quid, nah. My local game, as in the store called Game, had a pre-owned copy of the new remastered sort of, version, special edition, for like 5 quid. So, yeah. If you want hundreds and hundreds of hours of fun and engaging gameplay, but money's a bit tight, get Skyrim. You can pick it up for a £5 and it'll last you. Like I say, my first playthrough, probably over 1,000 hours. Second playthrough is probably pushing about 600-700, maybe 800 hours. It's amazing. If you just go through the storyline like before, like if you just go through the story, it'll last you like 5 minutes. And you'll be bored, because you won't get very far. But if you just get past the starting area, where it's kind of like, right, off you go, there you go, go. And just wander around. Just explore. It's great fun. And there are mods on consoles as well. If you've got a choice between, if you're lucky enough to have a choice between PlayStation and Xbox, and your local game store has a copy of Skyrim, whatever, remastered for a few quid, I would say absolutely choose the Xbox version. Even if you've not got Xbox One X, you've got bog standard Xbox One. Go for that. The reason being that the mod support on Xbox is massively better than on PlayStation. I'll start that again. The mod support on Xbox is better than on PlayStation, because PlayStation have a thing. They did the same with Fallout 4. You can have mods, but they can't use anything new. They have to just use existing assets. So there's a lot of limitations. So there's like mods on Xbox where they've redesigned some of the meshes, and they've added things to the game, and new props and new scenery, and they've added, new dungeons. And it's like, yeah, you can't do it on PlayStation, apparently. So if you've got a choice between the two, if you're lucky enough, take the Xbox one, because the mod support is better. And there's a lot of mods on there. There's a lot of fun mods. So yeah, go for it. It's one of those games. If you can pick it up for a £5 at your local game store, it's worth it. You will get hundreds of hours. And if you're like me, see, I love video games, but I'm not in a position right now financially where I can go out and buy all the latest games. And I haven't been for a while. But that's fine, because I know I've got games I can play for hundreds of hours, which is why I like things like Fallout, Skyrim. If, like me, you're not made of money, you can't be buying all the latest releases, it's not a problem. So if you're a bit strapped for cash, but you're looking for something to keep you busy, video game wise, get yourself some Skyrim. It's clunky, it's Bethesda, it's not, it's a bit quaint, but it does stand up in a lot of ways, if you're not that fussed. Obviously on PC the mod support is even better in the graphics and stuff, but depends on what you've got. I really should return to the Team Inept live stream of Skyrim that I started ages ago, says Team Inept. Yes. I started playing Oblivion again before Christmas, says LD. I did try Oblivion, but I tried playing Oblivion after I'd been playing Fallout 3, and I couldn't hack it. It was terrible. It was like, I just didn't enjoy the process at all. And for no reason at all, I just feel compelled. I need to press this.
Slap it on!
Because we haven't had any TED action so far. So, yeah, we needed some. So, yeah, go and get Skyrim. It's a few quid. I really wish they would. There were lots of rumours for a long time about them remastering Fallout 3 in Fallout 4's engine. And part of me really wishes they would do that. Because I got over a couple of playthroughs, I think I got well over 2,000 hours in Fallout 3 and loved every minute of it. And I did go back to it and I started playing it again like a couple of months ago, and it is still fun, but if I could play Fallout 3 in Fallout 4's engine, oh god, that'd be heaven. With all the mechanics of Fallout 4, wow, that'd be awesome. So, yeah. So, you've got Fallout 3 as well, but Skyrim is totally approachable. But yeah, I tried Oblivion. So I'm playing Fallout 3. Bearing in mind, Fallout 3 was the first real sort of open-worldy RPG kind of like type of game that I'd ever played. And it was amazing. I loved it at the time. Looking back on it now, it's like, oh, it's hard to get back into. But I loved it. So I thought, I'll try Oblivion. Because I got Oblivion when I first got my Xbox, but I never tried it. So I got Oblivion. And I'm like, wow, this looks like absolute garbage. Even in those days, I'm like, this looks like garbage. And I played it for a bit, and it was like, it's not really, it didn't, like, in a lot of ways that the Fallout 3 doesn't really work, like, everything's a bit floaty, and, yeah, Oblivion was worse. bearing in mind, it was like, you know, 2005 or 6 it came out. Oblivion, and that whole emotion thing system, the intimidate, and I never got the hang of that at all. I don't think anybody ever understood that whole conversation system where you can do intimidate, and no, I don't think anybody actually ever understood that at all. So yeah, I never got very far in Oblivion. I tried it a couple of times over the years and never got very far with it at all. Yeah, go and get Skyrim. Skyrim's good fun. Hundreds and hundreds of hours for. Don't buy it on, like I said, don't buy it online from PlayStation Now or Xbox if you're on console, because it's just not worth it. Get it pre-owned, and you'll be gravy. You'll be golden. Get the special edition if you're on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One or Xbox One X, because that is the version with all the DLC and everything else, and it's the remastered one. If you're on Xbox One X, you can get 4K and HDR. I think it does HDR. It does 4K anyway. So, get it. I'll look at the chat in a moment. I got Skyrim on PS3, was going to get it for the PlayStation 4, but want it on the Switch. Yeah, go for it. It's supposed to be quite good on the Switch. If that's your console of choice. I mean, PlayStation 4 will look better, perform better, and give you the access to mods. Again, not as good as Xbox, but hey, you go with what you've got. PlayStation 4 will give you access to mods and look better and perform better. But if you want it on Switch, get it on Switch. Platform of choice. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's easy with joystick. Oh, going back to Elite Dangerous for Dave. It's easy with joystick like HOTAS on PC. However, you can use a PlayStation 4 controller on PC. You can also use an Xbox controller. Avoid getting it on Steam. Go direct to Frontier and download from them, and yeah, get the full version. That's for Dave. Yeah, you can play it on controller. You can play it on keyboard and mouse, or you can play it on HOTAS. The best way to play Elite Dangerous is HOTAS, because you've got everything at your fingertips. If you play it on controller, you've got to have an alternative control scheme. So all the buttons on your controller, like you might have like vertical thrust, lateral thrust, forward and backward. But there's certain, like I've said it before, when I was flying into space stations, you need vertical, lateral, horizontal thrust, roll, pitch, and yaw, and you can't have all of those at the same time. So I'd be trying to land in a space station, and I'd have say vertical thrust, but not lateral thrust, or lateral thrust. So you have to do an alternative control scheme. It means pressing even more buttons. So it can get a bit of a fiddly, and it's not as intuitive when using twin sticks on a controller. You can do it; it's fine. But for the absolute best experience, HOTAS. You can't beat HOTAS. You've got all your movement controls in one simple place. Lots of buttons. You can customize the controls. Because don't forget, when you play Elite Dangerous, there's like 1 billion different controls, but you don't need all of them. You need very few of them, to be honest. Most of them you're never going to use. All I can hear in my head now is Bellathor going, "Everything's for sale. I'd sell my sister if I had one." So just before we went live, I was watching Colin's brunch stream on his channel, Festa 67's Workshop, and I was playing a bit of Skyrim. And I've gone into Whiterun, which is the first, not the first settlement you go to, but the first big settlement you go to. And I was just, getting myself settled down. And I went into the first thing. One of the first things I did was I went to Dragon's Reach to see the Jarl, and I took every single thing that wasn't nailed down, like plates, bowls, cups, fruit, food, everything that wasn't nailed down and wasn't owned by anybody. I took in the whole building, every single thing. So I was totally over encumbered. I was moving slowly because of all my weight, the stuff I was carrying, but I didn't care. I didn't have my special carry weight ring at that point. And took everything that wasn't nailed down and sold it to the mage in Dragon's Reach, because he's the only vendor there. And then I went to the Bannered Mare, the pub, the tavern, and I walked in. Again, I took everything that wasn't nailed down, but I had to be careful because although things like containers, like bowls and cups and things, weren't owned, so I could take them. The things that were in them, like apples and onions and leeks and food and stuff, they were owned, so I couldn't. If I took those, I'd be stealing and I'd get in trouble. So I carefully took all the bowls and plates and cups and anything that wasn't owned by anybody. I took all that and then I sold it all straight back to the landlord. So I made quite a bit of gold. It was quite good. But that's the thing about Skyrim. You just like to milk the system a little bit. So yeah, so I started playing that. So I'll probably get a fair bit of that. But I need something to play while I'm doing George's Suzabi inking, because it is the thing that I can only do it for a few hours. And if you ever decide to do something similar yourself, you'll figure out, you'll understand what I mean. Because it's not just a master grade, it's a massively complex master grade. And there's so many armor parts and everything else, with so many edges and corners. Inking them, it's not just something you can, like doing this, I can switch off, I can talk to you guys, I'm not really paying attention, I'm just going through the motions. Doing George's inking on his Suzabi, I've got to really, it's proper sticky out tongue time, I've got to pay attention, I've got to be careful what I'm doing. I can't mess it up, because it's not like I can wipe it off if it goes wrong. It's ink. It's massively permanent. So I've got to be careful, take my time. And it's like any task. If you can do a task that you can switch off from when you're doing it, you can do it for hours and hours and hours. Because you can be distracted by a podcast or something else, or you can have things to distract you. If you're doing something that requires a lot of concentration, you can't do it for long. You have to take regular breaks, or just do a small amount each day. So I need something to do while I'm not doing the Suzabi. So I thought I'll fire up the Xbox, but I'll play something else. So yeah, Skyrim. Back in Skyrim. It's been a while. Let's get some of these. Are these properly cleaned up? These need sorting out. This can go. That can get glued on. Glued on now. Now there are lots of gaps underneath on this bit on the thermic plasma regulator. Lots of holes in these, but these are designed so you can. This is a generic piece of scenery that can go onto other scenery pieces, and it's designed so things can go in the bottom. So I'm not going to fill those in, because if this goes to George, or if I sell it or whatever, somebody might want to be able to build this into something else, or it might link to other things later on. So I'm not going to make that assumption. I'm just going to glue it into place and leave those as they are. What was I going to say? Yeah, so Skyrim, man, it's good stuff. It's good. Skyrim is good people. It's not aged wonderfully, but it's not aged terribly. Like Fallout 3 has not aged well. Oh, that was careless. Fallout 3 has not aged well at all. And it's, graphically it's brown, it's muddy, it's rough around the edges. Program wise, AI wise, it's not the best, but it's still, the controls, it's not the best. Oblivion really hasn't aged. Oblivion is just an abomination now. It's just heresy. But Skyrim, it can still give you it can still pull a nice sort of landscape view every now and then, and it's still fun, still kind of fun. There we go. That's that glued on. But I am worried about Elder Scrolls 6. Like I said before, I'm not into fantasy nonsense, apart from Skyrim. But I am worried about Elder Scrolls 6 because of the whole thing with Fallout 76. And I said this yesterday's stream. It's just, yeah, I'm not. Oh, I am the 1-2-10 has just subscribed. Thank you very much. Welcome. Do make sure that you remember to hit the like button and the notification bell. And choose all for the notifications, so you make sure that you never miss any of my content ever. But welcome to the club. Do it on camera, dear. Yeah, so I knew it was because I turned the Xbox on the other day after doing a bit of George's stuff, and I was like, I'll play a game. Let's do some Fallout 4. Because Fallout 4, I like to wander around and just pootle about, pass time. It's time passing games, time sink games where I'm not playing the game. I'm just pootling about and doing stuff. I love games like that, where you can play the game, or you can just be like, I've got an hour, let's just pootle about. And like Red Dead Redemption, the original, you could go and farm, you could go and hunt animals and stuff. Skyrim and Fallout 4 and Fallout 3, you can wander around. So I was like, I could play this for an hour. I thought, let's load some Skyrim up. Let's give that a go. Yes, jolly good fun. I'll have a look at chat in a second. I'll get these 2 bits glued on, and I shall have a look at the chat. I do bidoo 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 do. But yeah, if there was a big, before Fallout 76 came out, there was a big hoo-ha because everybody was thinking, oh, they made this announcement that something was happening, and everybody was getting really excited, and they were really hoping it was going to be a Fallout 3 remaster. You know, Fallout 3 completely rebuilt from the ground up in Fallout 4's engine. So the game was the same, you know, the missions and quests, but the graphics were updated and everything else, the behaviours, and you could do things that you couldn't originally do in Fallout 3. You know, get rid of weapon degradation and stuff. And that was the hope, and it didn't happen. But I'll be damned if I won't admit that, you know what, if they did that, I'd just buy it. And a lot of people thought they would because they like to remaster stuff. Like Skyrim's had 50 different remasters, and I can guarantee you, when the new Xbox comes out, when the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 come out, you know, Xbox this year and PlayStation 5 whenever, when they come out, I bet you 5 pence, 5 whole crisp new pence, that a Skyrim remaster will appear. Because Elder Scrolls 6 won't be anywhere near ready. We're not going to see that for a long time. So I reckon Skyrim, because they remastered it for the Xbox One and for the PS4 Pro. They remastered it to 4K and HDR for Xbox One X, and they remastered it to a little bit better graphics for the PlayStation Pro. Sorry, a little bit of a burn there. So there's no way they're going to turn the money down by saying, here's the new Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 version, now with all the same stuff, but now with up to, well, whatever they can do. Now with some of the things that weren't possible on the last generation, they will do. They will do. They'll do it. Right, let's have a quick look at the chat. I've made both of those, so I'm just put them there for a second to try. Let's see what the chat is doing. Wow, I just want Skyrim. I never played... Excuse me, burpage. I never played Skyrim, but I loved Fallout 3. Might have to buy Skyrim now, says Candygram. You must buy Skyrim. Fallout looks amazing. Fallout 4 looks amazing, but is not very forgiving. Yeah, you can get there. There are mods, don't forget there. Lots of mods on that. But I'm one of the people like mock Fallout 4's graphics, but I think they're not cutting edge. You know, they don't stand up to scrutiny, but you know what? It works. When you get a shot across the landscape and you can look and you can see light reflecting off metal things, sometimes the look works, and it can be quite pretty sometimes. Team Inept says, I just run up to stuff and smack it. I've been beating up a dragon with my fists before. Yep, sounds about right. Has anyone played Skyrim on VR? I imagine it would be amazing if they got it right, but I doubt they would have, says Phil East. I think it was passable. I've not got VR, but from what I've seen and heard, it was not bad. Not perfect, but not bad. Go and look at, when you finish watching this, obviously. If you've never watched him before, there's a channel called Up Is Not Jump. He does a lot of stuff on VR games in VR. And yeah, I think he looks at Skyrim. Skyrim is, in my opinion, says Paul at Team Inept, the best RPG ever. Chris says, yes, and it's great, and I played a bit on Team Inept to have a look. LD says, my first Skyrim playthrough, I forgot about the story for ages, was wandering the land, gathering wealth and stealing things, yes. Same with me on Fallout. Fallout 3, I got out of the vault, and then I just wandered for like 900 hours. The first time I ever played Fallout 3, I wandered for 900 hours before I even went back to the next bit of the story. Because Fallout 3, every time you turn around, there'll be a door or a cave or a place or a person. That's why I didn't like Vegas, because New Vegas, you walk out the thing and there's nothing to do. Chris says he likes VR, but he has to be in the right mood for it. Skyrim VR was on the PlayStation VR. Okay. Philly says he plays on PC, built a gaming rig for the mods on Skyrim and Fallout. PC VR is better, but I'm not buying Skyrim again. Elite in VR, though, says Chris, is something very special. Yes, Elite is supposed to be one of the best VR experiences. Of course, you've actually got to figure out how to play Elite, which is the hard bit. Eon's Car said, I completed Oblivion once, got it on Xbox 360 and PC, and got Skyrim on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 4. I love Skyrim. Need to put on a curved TV. Yes, I see. I'll read that properly. Osric says, I love Skyrim. Need to play it on a curved TV. Curved. it's fun walking through like Skyrim now, because I've not played it for many years. All the things that the guards say that me and my friends used to say to each other. Have you heard about those warriors in Markoth? They have curved swords. Curved swords. Curved. Yeah. No lollygagging. I went into Dragon's Reach at one point, and like the valet was talking to the Jarl, having a political discussion, and I've forgotten who the characters are. So there was some guy stood there in full like Dragonborn armor. I walked up and he went, "All this standing about is just rubbish. I need a good battle." I'm like, I like that. All this standing about and talking is just rubbish. Any recommendations, says Cynical Steve, for Xbox One X games? I have vouchers to spend. It came with Fallen Order and Fallout 4. It depends what you're into. It really depends. I can't think of any Xbox One specific games. It's mostly multiplats, but it really depends on what you like. If you like Fallout 4, again, I would say, if you like open worldy type stuff and RPGs, grab Skyrim. If you like really complicated simulator games, but you need to get Hotus Stick, I wouldn't get Elite Dangerous in that case, because you need to get Hotus Stick. But there's lots and lots of games. It really depends what you're onto. I mean, my choice of games is quite limited, because I've found my little games that I like: Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, Elite, and some other bits and bobs. I've kind of faded away from everything else at the minute, because I just like the games I like. I got Red Dead Redemption 2, played it for a day, and then put it back in the box. I'm not gone back to it at all yet. It wasn't bad, I just kind of didn't grab me. David Sanders says, to me, Fallout 4 was hard, but then if I was better, then I'd really enjoy it. It looks stunning. Yeah, don't forget you can change the difficulty in Fallout 4 to not hard. You can set it to easier. There are difficulty levels. And there are lots of mods as well, so you can get different weapons. If you want to play Fallout 4 in a real cool way, find the mod on Xbox. Find the mod for the M1 Garand rifle or M1 Durand rifle. It changes the way you play because of the way the scope on that rifle. Get the M1 Garand and get it with the realistic scope. It will change the way you play completely. It really will. It's just, I can't explain it. It just will change the way you play completely. As many have stated, Skyrim is awesome, says Paul. Paul Di Tomas says, those are great games. Also, this is to Cynical Steve. Also try Borderlands 1, 2 and 3 and The Outer Worlds. Oh, absolutely, yeah, Borderlands 1, 2 and 3. Don't get the pre-sequel. It's not very good. Pre-sequel, just, no, don't. Don't get the pre-sequel. Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3. I forgot about those. Fox is getting things done, yes. Try Star Wars Battlefront 2. I really enjoyed the single player story, and it should be cheap now, says Phil East. But it links with the pipes you did the other week really well, says Dave. Yes, they will link. There are all the beauty of the Games Workshop, like what's the word I'm looking for? Terrain pieces. A lot of like this industrial sectors type stuff. They all link together. They're all kind of modular. So the pipes that I built the other week, they will link into here and they'll link into there, and you can have little platforms that will link onto that, and you could connect these with 2 pipes. So that's one of the good things about this terrain. It is modular. Let's have a look. Paul says, it all depends on the types of games you like as well. I found the Batman Arkham games really fun, Assassin's Creed games and whatnot. Got tired of COD though. Yeah, those kind of games do nothing for me. So it really depends on what you want. I say, because I'm often skint and I haven't got a lot of money, I tend to, when I do buy a game, I tend to look for a game that's going to give me hundreds of hours rather than something that's like a 12-hour campaign. Like, I knew Destiny would last me a long time, so I played Destiny. I knew obviously Fallout would, Skyrim and things like that, but I won't go out and buy. Like, I've got Borderlands 3 and I've played it a bit, but I know I can get back into that, and that will give me quite a lot of playtime. But I wouldn't go out and buy like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield, because I don't play online, because 99% of the people who play online are the jerks. So I don't play competitive online because it doesn't interest me at all. The most I'll do is co-op with my friends. So it's all single player for me, and I'm not going to buy a 10-hour campaign because it's too expensive for me. I can't afford all that nonsense. So I'd much rather buy a long drawn out game. There's a lot of my old 360 games on there, so I don't need to go get them again. I'm generally a shooty flyer kind of game. I'm rubbish with driving or sports games, and I lean towards sci-fi, says Cynical Steve. Well, yeah. Fallout 4 you'll like. I would recommend, although it's clunky as anything, and it's not exactly streamlined, and it's a bit kind of... It's not logical. Fallout 3 is still good, even though it's a bit clunky and it's not intuitive like Fallout 4. I remember getting Skyrim, says Earl D, and had to wait ages before starting as there was a bug on the PlayStation 3 where your saves kept getting corrupted. There was a similar thing on Xbox 360 which at the time, which was, I don't know what it was on PlayStation, but on Xbox, when your game got to a certain point, everything would get really jerky. When you moved around, the landscape would get really jerky. And you're talking hundreds of hours in at this point, and it turned out, on the Xbox, it was a memory leak caused by Nirnroot. You know the little... If you played Skyrim, you know the plant that glows and makes the noise, and you collect Nirnroots. There's only so many of them in the landscape. It was a memory leak caused by these Nirnroot collected when you pick them, because it has to remember which one you've picked, because it never reappears. And it was caused by that, and apparently it got fixed in the end, but that caused a lot of problems. People would be like, you can't get past 200 or 300 hours, it just clunks to a halt. People are talking about games to play. Sounds like a Welsh Arnie, says David Sanderson. All the standing around and talking is rubbish. I've got Last of Us on the PlayStation 4, but yet to play it. I did buy, I will admit, I'm an Xbox boy through and through, but I did buy a PlayStation 3. Purely to play The Last of Us, the first Last of Us game. It's the only reason I bought it. I bought a PlayStation 3 just to play The Last of Us, and I was glad that I did, because that was a fantastic game. I also played some of the what they call the Uncharted games. I quite enjoyed those as well. Uncharted 3 was quite good. So I did have a PlayStation. I've still got one technically. I lent it to my mate Busby. Busby, if you're watching this, I hope you haven't sold it. You've still got it. He's got my PlayStation 3, so I do technically own a PlayStation 3. But I don't like the PlayStation controllers. I had to buy a thing so I could use my Xbox controller on the PlayStation because I can't use a PlayStation controller. Got to go now. Roast is ready, says Jamie Bone. Thank you, Jamie, for coming in. Beyond Hope says, bought some Chaos Demons from Games Workshop over the new year and got a free copy of Total War Warhammer for the PC bonus. Yes. I'm eagerly awaiting Cyberpunk 27, says Cynical Steve. I was, but I'm kind of not now because I don't know. I'm worried it's going to turn out like... I know it's CD Projekt Red, and that's not the right word to me. It's CD Projekt, isn't it? CD Projekt Red. So it's going to be... but I can't help looking at it and thinking they're going to go all Ubisoft on it and completely mess it up. So I'm interested in it. I did see Giant Bomb do like a quick let's play while it was still in development, and they had some guy running around. I'm like, it looks like it looks like a bit like Watch Dogs. The gameplay so far is not picking me, so I'm going to wait and see with that again because I don't have a lot of money to spend. I'll watch and wait. It looks like it could be a game that will give me hundreds of hours of content, but I want to see what other people think and what it looks like and what the gameplay is when it eventually comes out, because I don't want to spend money on it and suddenly find it's just like Watch Dogs kind of style game. I'm like, oh well, that's not interesting at all because Watch Dogs was garbage. Yeah. And I'm back, says Illuminator Arts and Crafts. Welcome back. Right, so we built those. Now, we've only got an hour to go, and I don't really want to start... The next thing to build is... Because now we've built our thermic plasma regulators. I do have to go back and clean up the seams, but I need to leave them a bit longer for the glue to go a bit more soft and hard. I mean, hard and set, especially around this. So I'm going to have some clean up on that to do later on tonight. I built my thermic plasma regulators. The next thing is Space Marine Scouts, which is cool, but I'm going to get like one done, and then I'm going to have to spend like... The one problem with doing this on a Sunday is that I tend to do a little bit of work, and then I've got the rest to finish before the next show, and I can't really just put them back in the box because I get lost. So I like to get them finished, but if I start that, I'm going to be doing this like Monday and Tuesday, and I don't want to do that because I've got other stuff to do, like George's thing. So I'm not going to start them. We'll start them next week. I've got things I need to do this week. I've got to do some more work on the Cesabi. I've got to do my tax return. I really have to do my tax return. I'm looking forward to that. and other stuff. So I don't want to really start those guys because I'm going to just take up a couple of days of the week. Those scouts are a pain to assemble, says David Sanderson. We'll see. It's proper old school style. One thing I did realise is, to my annoyance, never thought of it before, but like I said at the start, we're going to split this whole part work. I'm going to keep the Death Guard, and George, God bless him and all who sail in him, George is going to take the Space Marines. But he's not going to have them as Ultramarines, because nobody wants Ultramarines. Ultramarines are just like the school child's version of Space Marines. All the school children like Ultramarines, but proper people like decent ones. But I suddenly realised that a load of the figures have actually got the Ultramarines marking kind of moulded into their pauldrons, and some of them have got them on their greaves, and it's like, oh, fudge. I forgot about that. So what I'm going to have to do when it comes to painting, before we start getting them painted up, whatever colour scheme George decides on, there's a few ideas in play. Whatever he decides on, I'm going to have to either, with the Space Marines I'm due to that I've not yet built, I've got a load of blank pauldrons from other Space Marines, so I might have to do a bit of modding and kit switching to use pauldrons from other Space Marines I've got. So they've got blank pauldrons. Or, for the ones that I've already built, I'm kind of screwed. I'm going to have to go back and just carve and sand all the markings off. Like Lieutenant Calcium, who is built, he's got, if I remember right, he's got Ultramarine symbol all over his pauldron on his leg. So I'm like, oh, I have to go back and carve all that off now. Because it'd be pointless if I'm not painting them Ultramarines. Why would they have an Ultramarine marking? So we'll find out. We'll find out. Yes, David Sanderson says they're a bit like the Scions and the Necrons. Well, Tempestus Scions are dead easy to make. The only thing that makes Tempestus Scions hard is that the arms come in two parts, and that's a ball ache. But in terms of the rest of them, this is no different to Imperial Guard. It's just body, legs, torso, head, arms. So, I don't see that being a problem. I'm used to the old style where you did have more posability. If you're just used to the more modern stuff where you just put two bits together and there's like one arm, then yeah, they're a bit more fiddly than that. But that's because you get the multiple arms, so you can swap weapons out and have customization. But I don't see these any different to than, for example, the Imperial Guard. So I'm quite looking forward to them. But if you're not used to them, then yeah, they'll be a bit more fiddly. But meaning the arms, says David. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sometimes you'll have for a lot of these, they've got a left arm and a right arm. But if you mean like they've got the two arms and the arm needs to meet up with the weapon, then that's not so bad because, hopefully, if they're numbered. Oh, no, they're not. Oh, right, here we go. Yeah, it does. They're not actually... Okay, I can see what you mean now. Yeah, they're not actually numbered. So you've got a choice of 4 weapons and 4 arm types, and you have to match them up. It's a bit like my Deathcore Krieg that drove me to distraction because you don't know which arm goes with which gun. The beauty with these is if you're using like the Tamiya cements, you've got a few seconds to move them around once they're glued on. So you can dry fit, and then you can figure out which gun needs which arm. So what I can see here is, for example, I don't know if you can see on there, you've got on this, for example, let's find something to point with. You've got, it looks like 4 different types of weapon. 4. Okay, you've got 3. Okay, let's have a look. See if these are all different, but they're kind of similar. These are all the same. That one's different. Okay, yeah, because they're not numbered, there's probably a little bit of fiddliness to do to get them all lined up. But like I say, it's not like doing my Deathcore Krieg where it's resin. And you don't know which arm goes with which gun arm. And I stopped making my Deathcore. Because you get like 10 left arms and 10 right arms. You don't know which goes with which. But you're gluing them on with super glue because they're resin. So once you've glued it on, you can't move them around. And if you glue on the right arm, then you need to find which arm goes with that. But if it's in the wrong position, it won't meet up. and you can't really do a dry fit very easily because they're kind of fiddly and you can't hold them in place. So I did a couple and then realised I may have glued the wrong arms with the wrong rifles because none of them fit, and in the end I just put them back in the bag. And I've decided, because I do want to develop a deathcore group of dudes, what I'll probably do is just pay someone. I'll buy the figures and I'll pay someone else to make them. I'll paint them, but I'll just pay someone else to make them because I really was using all the swear words. So with them, you've got the advantage of you can move the arms around, and if it doesn't quite fit, you can, yeah, it's not so bad. But when you're working in resin, that's not an option that you have, sadly. You don't have that option to do that, which is a bit rubbish. Yeah, he says, doesn't tell you which arms to glue with which gun. Yeah, it's the old style way of doing it. They're usually fairly uniform. You can fairly mix and match most of them. But yeah, it's a bit easier when you've got the wiggly glue. You can kind of combine and contrast. Now, of course, with my deathcore, the ones I have built, I can put them in the freezer, perhaps let them freeze and then snap the arms back off again. So that's an option. But I did get quite disappointed because I wanted to paint them. They look fantastic. And I do have my Bane Blade, which I'm going to do as a deathcore tank, and I do have the Malcador Infernus that I have, which I'm going to do as deathcore, and I have my the other one, the big Forge World tank that I got myself. The Malcador was a very kind gift from George, my Secret Santa from George, because it wasn't that secret. And the other one I've got is the big, I can't remember what it's called now, big resin tank. That's going to be deathcore as well. So, Candygram for Mongo says, modelling question: how long should I wait after airbrushing acrylic paint before I can remove the masking tape? Varies for the paint, but if it's proper acrylic paint like Citadel or Games Workshop or Vallejo or P whatever or any of those, 5-10 minutes. Just as long as it's, I mean, you could leave it at the most, if you want to be super careful, give it half an hour, but even just 5 or 10 minutes. Or if you really want to be sure, spray it, give it 5 minutes, blast it quickly with a hairdryer, peel the paint off. Just remember that when you remove the tape, even Tamiya paints, Tamiya paints I'd probably say, because they're not acrylics, but with Tamiya paints I'd probably say like 10 or 15 minutes. But when you pull the tape back, here's the trick. What you don't do is go like this, because that's just ass. What you do is, there's your tape. You get a corner of the tape that you've masked, and you pull it back on itself. Now you can do it at an angle like this if you want. You can see there, or you can pull it back straight like that. I'll do it with tweezers so you can see and not my hands in the way. I'll do it this way. You can use it. I'm just doing this so you can see, but what you do is you don't pull it up. Don't pull it up that way, because that rips the paint. You pull it back on itself. So you get a little corner, pull it back, and you pull it back on itself like that. So I'm not pulling up. I'm not pulling it 90 degrees. I'm pulling back on itself. And the reason you do that, if you pull it up like this, you put in torsional stress on the paint, and the paint will go like where the edge of the tape is. The paint here will be forced to move up, and that's where the paint rips, because your tape's here. You pull the tape up and the paint around it goes, oh, like that. If you're pulling it back on itself, it's kind of just rolling the paint back and you get a much smoother line. So go slowly, pull it back on itself, like that. Also helps when you apply masking tape, before you put it on, if you put it on your trouser leg and just pat it down to get rid of some of the stick, or like I've just done now, put it on your desktop, really push it down, and then pull it off, and then it can go on your model because that's lost some of the stick. Now, to me, a masking tape like this, you don't need to do that really, but it doesn't do any harm if you're not sure. Acrylic paints that you've airbrushed, especially if it's Citadel, they are very delicate, so it's worth detacking your tape a little bit like that, just on the tabletop or on your leg or something, like on your trouser leg, just to get a bit of the stick gone. But always pull the tape back on itself, never pull it up, because that's mechanically it's going to rip the paint. And go slowly. If you yank it off, it's more likely to pull that piece of paint with it. If you've got a piece of paint there and you've got tape on top, if you yank it off really harshly, it might pull the paint up. If there's no adherence under that little bit of tape, it might pull it. If you go slowly, it's like peeling back the film off a dry rub transfer. If you go slowly, you can kind of minimise the damage. Even Dad used bad words with the heavy bolter, dude, says David Butcher, that model. We shall find out. Maybe what I have to do is build a few of them off camera before the show, just to get ready to see what I'm encountering, because it's what people expect. You see what I did there? I'll shut up now. Shut up. Yes. Right, so I think what I'm going to do, because I built these, and I'm just like filling now, I'm filling time now. I'm not going to start those dudes then, we'll start them next week. What I will do, I mean, what I might do, I don't know, I think what I might do with those guys is maybe get them all off the sprues, but keep them together, like and then have a little bag with one dude and another bag with another dude, so I don't get the arms mixed up. Or at least get all the torsos and stuff built next week, maybe. Yeah, there's... How many of them are there? How many of them got built here? Is it 5 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's 5 dudes. Yeah, that'll take me like 6 weeks. Oh, yeah. You never know. I might get the torsos and legs off the sprues by the end of next week. The show. Airbrush a Warhammer Mini, you Philistine. Go and stand in the corner and give yourself a good hard talking to. You can airbrush. I've airbrushed minis. When I do my big resin Forge World tanks, they're going to be airbrushed. I ain't brush painting them. Not for 130 quid a pop. I'm not airbrush. They're getting airbrushing, they are. Yeah. And anyway, we don't know that Candy Graham from Mongo was building a Warhammer kit. He doesn't say what he's masked off and airbrushed. Does he? He doesn't say what he's done. He just says that's what he's done. Get some of this sanding dust. Yeah, so I think what we'll do, we'll call it quits there. It's 5:30 almost. We were only a half an hour early. I'll give you all half an hour to go off and chill out for a bit. Don't forget, of course, we will be back, or rather Chris will be back, 8 PM on Chris's channel. Gross Models is Chris's Warhammer Sunday live show. I think he's still working on his little space planes. So don't forget to go and watch that at 8 PM tonight after you've had your tea. So come off from me, go and have your tea, and watch Chris at 8 PM. David Sen says, where do you get those wristbands from? That one is Help for Heroes. That's the, put money in a pot and you get a wristband at the local petrol station, but it's Help for Heroes, so I support my armed forces. And these 3 are Warhammer ones. One of them I got on my local... They're all from my local store, and they're usually like on one of their store birthdays or something. They'll just give them away. Or I know the manager, so he sometimes just pops me a wristband for fun. So they're Warhammer ones. But that's Help for Heroes. I take them off the other day because I had a sore wrist yesterday and these weren't helping at all. So I haven't taken these off in about 3 years, but 2 years or something. So I take them all off yesterday. It was weird. I was like, oh, there's nothing on that wrist. I want more. But they do get quite annoying because they go up on your arm and then you're trying to get to sleep and you've got your blood being cut off. I don't think I can fit any more on there. Maybe one. I don't know. Maybe one. But yeah, we're going to call it there. So yes, don't forget, go and watch Chris's stream tonight at 8 PM on his channel. We will also be back again on Monday, tomorrow. Me, Colin, Chris and Ted for the eModels show. So on eModels channel, that's eModels, what are they on YouTube? eModels UK, I think, on YouTube. Or eModels LTD on Facebook. We'll be there for the eModels show tomorrow. And throughout the week, I'm obviously still going to be doing the Sazabi outlining, so I'm not filming that step of the build. I was doing it as a Patreon exclusive build series, and I might go back to filming it when I start doing the diorama and the rest of the model. But for the ink outlining, I'm just getting it done. I'm not filming that, so stay tuned. So that's why there's not been much content, because I'm doing that and I'm not filming it, and there's nothing else I can do in the meantime. So if you'll see me tomorrow for the eModel show, and you may see me during the week. I've got a couple of things I need to film anyway. But if not, I'll catch you next Saturday for Sidewinder Saturday. But I shall leave it there. Don't forget, of course, as always, I'll do the last little bits. Hang on, I've got to say hello from Ted.
Clap it on!
Yeah, that's always the best advice Ted can ever give you. Don't forget, of course, if you want to help support this channel and me, you can do. You can support me on Patreon. I've put it in the chat there. The address is down here, patreon.com/modelmakingguru. As much or as little as you like. All support is welcome. It pays my wages. It helps keep the bills paid. It keeps the lights on, keeps me in food, keeps me off the street corner. So if you'd like to help support this channel directly, you can do through Patreon. You can, of course, help me indirectly. You can get all your tabletop stuff at Goblin Gaming if you're in the EU or the UK. Address in the chat and in the link below the description, or description below the video. That's an affiliate link, so if you order your stuff from there using that link, I get a little bit of commission off that. And of course, you can use my Amazon store link. There's a link in the description below the video for the UK or the US stores. Anything you need for your model making, you can get it from there. It costs you nothing extra, but I get a little bit of income from that, so it helps me out massively. If there's something in there, if there's something you want that's not in there, just give me a shout. I can add it for you, no problem. Not mankinis, Chris. Well, if you want to buy mankinis, you can do. Just tell me and I'll add them. But I want to see receipts. What else? But as always, don't forget, of course, one of the best ways to support this channel that costs you nothing is to like the videos. All my videos, always hit the like icon. It helps my videos in the listings, gets me more views, and helps me massively. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and hit the notification bell, and make sure to hit the bell and click on the all, so that means you don't miss out on any of my content. Excuse me. But that's going to do us. Yeah, Chris, you swap weeks with Colin. What's this? Is it my watch in store? Well, somebody said in Colin's show that I should follow that. It should be me, then Colin, then you, and then Ted. Ted did last week, but I did the week before at Christmas. So that means technically Colin and Ted have swapped. So Ted did last week, which means technically I think Colin should do this week. It's either you or Colin. You have to fight it out amongst yourselves between you and Colin. Wayne Haywood says, thanks Fox, much painting done, cheers all, bye bye. Thanks Fox, nice to be back watching a Sunday stream, first one for a while, I enjoyed it fully, says Phyllis. Thank you for coming back, dude, more than welcome to join me every time. Actually got some work done, to look at that. I know, it's just not natural, that is it? It's not normal. I don't mind if you want to. I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. It's between you and Colin, dude. I did the one before Christmas, Ted did the one after, so Ted's done his early, so it's between you and Colin. Fight. Anyway, I'm going to bugger off. So, yes, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. As always...
Slap it on.
Dude, I've just noticed, actually.
Slap it on.
I'm sure in the background there's a little fly going past Ted's head, but I can't quite see it. I'm sure I saw something like that. Maybe we'll never know. Anyway... I've had my thumb up the whole stream, says Skullfish. I didn't take a deep enough breath before doing that. That'll let me, won't it? Anyway, yes, take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. And until next time, I shall say, adios, amoebas. Ciao, bella.